Hello, my lovely viewers. We are back. I did not expect I'd be doing this, and yet here we are. So I was patiently waiting around, not patiently at all, actually. I was waiting around for Jenna Moreci to finally publish her next book in the Savior series, but she is taking a while. And I understand that books take a long time. Books take how long they take. But, like, come on, girl. I am dying. So I was like, fine. I was hoping that it would be coming out soonish, and that could be my next read-along, but it's apparently clearly not. So instead, I got a hold of a book that I have been hearing is hot garbage, and so we're going to do a read-along of it. But look, it has sprayed edges. I think this might be my first book with sprayed edges. That's exciting. Of course, it would be a crappy book that I don't care about, but I bought it used for $11 on the internet, and look what it came with. A bookmark. We're just gonna... That's not happening. We're going to use my bookmark with my books on it, because if you didn't know, I am also an author, and I have written books that I feel, this isn't all of them, are pretty good. So this is a fantasy romance, in fact. So, like, check some of those out, you know, after you get done with this. Look how thick this is. Why are all of these terrible books also, like, the thickest things ever? I don't understand. My fantasy romance is 100 pages less than that, and also has larger words because I do like to have fairly large print, just, you know, for my viewers' ease of reading, because I'm dyslexic and I know that small print can be really a pain in the butt sometimes. So, I know basically nothing about this book, except that it was, I think, like a dystopian. I think it's a Hunger Games clone. I think it's another Hunger Games clone. So, right away, the cover, it's got this really pretty marble thing going on, and it's got a dove. I think it's a dove that's almost covered up by the marbling. The back, nothing, just a quote. But let's get her naked and see. Oh, that's disappointing. All of that fanfare with the sprayed edges and everything, and the undercover is this. There's better covers on the frickin' Lightlark books than this. This looks like something that just came from my public library and, like, derogatory. Like, I love public libraries, but sometimes the books can be a pretty rough shape. But let's go ahead and read the blurb, and then we'll go and look at I did a mega bad book bingo for this one, because we know this one's going to be bad. We don't have any illusions that this one's going to have any qualities whatsoever. In fact, people are saying that it was written by AI, so it's going to be bad. The first book of a sizzling dystopian romance series. Great. Psychic gifts are a death sentence, and there are rules to survival. Trust no one, lie to everyone, and whatever you do, don't fall for your greatest enemy. So that sounds like every single popular romantasy in existence right now. Trust no one. Wren Darlington, sure, has spent her whole life in hiding, honing her psychic abilities and aiding the rebel uprising in small ways. Interesting that they have not capitalized rebel, as they so often do, but have capitalized uprising. Choices. On the continent. Wow, we are lazy. On the continent. Continent, capital C. Why would you name your continent? That's a lot of work. That's a lot of work coming up with names for things. So we're just going to call it the continent. Being capital M modified means certain death, and Wren is one of the most powerful mods in existence. When one careless mistake places her in the hands of the enemy, she's forced to join Silverblock, their most elite training program. So Dauntless, I'm assuming.
And then there's Dauntless.
She's finally handed the perfect opportunity to strike a devastating blow from inside their ranks. Of course she won't. Why would she do that? That would be, like, the smart thing to do. But training for Silverblock can be deadly, especially when you're harboring a dangerous secret and living in close quarters with everyone who wants you dead. Whatever you do, don't fall for your greatest enemy. As the stakes grow even higher, Wren must prove herself, but it's easier said than done when your commanding officer is the ruthless and infuriating, okay, brace yourselves for stupid man name, infuriatingly irresistible, Cross-Redden.
Are you serious?
I swear these girls just throw letters into a jar and just like, his name is Cross-Redden. They just do a word jumble and get things like Zayden Ryerson and Cross-Redden. They clearly put more, like, quote-unquote effort into the hot guy names than the main girl names, because the hot guys are the ones that people are actually here for. The main girl is just a vehicle to get to the hot guys, who doesn't miss anything when it comes to her. And as war rages between mods like her and those who aim to destroy them, Ren must decide just how far she's willing to go to protect herself and how much of the continent is worth saving. I'm going to say none of it because you didn't even bother to give it a name. So, yep, that sounds atrocious just already. It sounds like everything we've already seen a million billion times just regurgitated again. We cannot stop doing the same things over and over again. Or, TradPub can't stop doing the same things over and over again. Indie publishing is thriving, doing great with original ideas. So, if you're looking for some of those. The symbol is even a bird, because, like, Hunger Games. Let's see what the dedication says. To the women who kick ass in this world. This is for every battle you fought and every barrier you've shattered. You inspire me every day. Well, this author isn't shattering any barriers because she's written something that is so obviously exactly like everything else. Oh, interesting. I just happened to glance at the copyright page, and the bird motif is a stock image in a traditionally published book. They couldn't pay an artist to do a little bird. That just kind of tells me all I need to know, honestly. But before we dive into this certain disaster waiting to happen, let's take a look at my Bad Book Bingo Mega Grid. Those of you who are familiar with my Bad Book Bingo, it's just what it sounds like. We have several things that are hallmarks of these types of books, and we will obviously check them off and see if we get bingo. And as I mentioned, this is a 7x7 grid, so I've got myself a big old chunky one here. But I filled it fairly easily, and there are some things that could have even been added to it. So first of all, we have identical female main character, which means that this girl, she's gonna be small, she's gonna be feisty, she's gonna either have unusual special girl hair or like brown hair. It's probably going to be worn in a braid. Like, you have seen this girl in every single one of these books. We have Hunger Games did it. This is a dystopian, so it's going to do things that Hunger Games did, certainly. We have The Blurb Lied, self-explanatory. We have Why Is It Always the Dumb Bitches, where we wonder about how these characters manage to feed themselves. They're so dumb. We have Not Like Other Girls, tropes used poorly. This one covers a lot of bases, but this book is bound to be absolutely swimming in tropes. And we are going to be looking to see if the author actually does anything with them or just plops them into the book because those are the tropes. People like tropes, and these authors don't understand that we like them because they can be used well. We have cringy sex scenes, self-explanatory, confusing world building, sarcasm 24/7, that is if our lead character, probably our lead character, although sometimes it is a side character, has one setting, and that is sarcastic, and they are sarcastic all the time, no matter what situation they are in, no matter if they're talking to their worst enemy who's about to chop off their head. If they say one more sarcastic thing, they are sarcastic. Never felt romantic love before. That's usually the guy character who will just be like, wow, I've never felt romantic love even once in my life. Although often it's the girl character too. I guess it could be either of them. Until you came along. We have brutal games, but very few people die, which I'm expecting we'll see in this one. All of these Hunger Game clones do not understand that one of the reasons that the Hunger Games worked was because pretty much everyone dies in it. Then we have Injuries Don't Matter, a classic. Main character is suddenly good at a high skill activity. That's where she picks up a bow for the first time and she's like a crack shot. Or she sits on a horse for the first time and she's galloping off into the sunset. Evidence of AI use. We'll be keeping our eye open for some of the hallmarks of AI. Main character has sudden, last-minute abilities. That's a popular one. POC, queer, disabled, etc. characters get shat on. They're barely in it. They're tokens. They're the best friend. They're the one who dies immediately. You'll know it when you see it. Physical features mentioned every time. This is for characters like Imogen, who has pink hair. How do we know she has pink hair? Well, every time she's on the page, we have to be reminded. I have bows or daggers because everybody knows that female main characters can only ever use bows or daggers. Those are your 2 weapon options if you're a woman. I'm sorry if you wanted to use something else. It's not allowed. However, if this is a world that does have handguns, I will also accept handguns. No other kinds of guns can be used by women, little known fact, just handguns. We have total badass constant damsel. That one's pretty self-explanatory. Nothing is described. Clearly no developmental editing. Lazy or useless map. We've been seeing a lot more of that in these books. Flirt fighting. Very popular. Confusing fight scenes. Then we have the free space. We have no world building in sight. I have dead father, hidden master, where the character's father will be dead, but before he died, he will happen to have trained her to do, like, so many cool badass things, and anytime the character needs a new skill, we'll just find out that her dad taught it to her before he died. We have, obviously, a one-sided love triangle, confusing magic or powers, evil mom or mom doesn't matter, no animals or animals have no personality. We have horny in all caps. I feel probably pretty safe that we'll get that one. Awkward language choices, which covers a broad range of things, but if I split them off into their own squares, it would take up most of this. So we have everyone praises the main character, which is where literally every single character, including the villains, take a minute to talk about how cool the main character is. MC behaving badly with no fallout. Main character is the special TM. Unhinged bullies. These are the Stephen King-esque bullies who take an immediate and extremely unreasonably violent dislike to the main character and will do everything up to and including homicide to bully them. We have info dump. We have horrifying implications, which is where the book does not think through all of the implications of the things that it tells you. Like, it could be world building, it could be character actions, it could be powers, it could be anything that the author has clearly not thought through, which if you actually do logic out, have horrifying implications. Do you think your reader is dumb? We'll talk about that when we find it. We have I would die for you, person I just met, terrible plans, surprise villain reveal, a pointless essay scene, rebels, in quotes, because so often these books, and we already read about it in the blurb, there are rebels. They are nondescript. What is their goal besides, like, win? We just know that we need rebels. We have fat equals evil, abusive / creepy equals sexy, cliffhanger / nothing is resolved, and finally, to match our identical female main character at the top, we have identical hot boy at the bottom, because the male lead character is going to be exactly every single male lead character we have seen in any of these books so far. So, let's get reading without any further preamble, because I am running out of battery, and I hope this first chapter is short. Most of these authors like a short chapter, so I'm hoping, but maybe not. The first line is, I grew up in pure, unceasing, suffocating darkness. It's not the worst first line, it's not the best, it just is, in my opinion. I'd like to say that's an exaggeration, but it's not. I was only 5 years old when my uncle smuggled me out of the city and took me to live in the Blacklands. Good to know we're still being extremely creative with our naming of things. As you might imagine, the Blacklands is very dark. It's a land of perpetual darkness. But her uncle is taking her to flee into the dark lands, and her uncle's name is Jim.
But I'm not Jimmy Jim. He's Jimmy Jim.
I will accept if, like, she doesn't have a father, but Uncle Jim is her father figure. I will accept him in that bingo slot. So right away, we solidify that our main character is a stone cold badass. And also, we are doing some world building with this too. So she says, a predator could lunge at my throat and I wouldn't blink. A command jet could drop a bomb on our house and my heart rate would remain steady. So we have jets. We have that kind of technology. I imagine it's probably, I'm going to guess, it's fairly Hunger Games-y, where only the bad guys have good tech, but we'll find out. How are they surviving in the darkness? I have no idea. But she's a badass. Oh, but guys, she's a badass, but she's adorkable. Because she's like, yeah, I grew up in darkness, and so I don't fear anything, except perhaps awkward conversations. Apparently they have cougars, and the cougars hunt in the Darklands, I guess, because she says she'd rather fight a cougar barehanded than to subject herself to an uncomfortable exchange. Oh, guys, she's so relatable. She's just like us. And in our first scene with our main character, she's sneaking out of someone's bed. So we know that she fucks, but she's not committed romantically. So I betcha that when she finds our hot boy, it'll be the first time she's ever felt romantic love. She is wearing jeans. So this is definitely one of those worlds. Probably she's going to be wearing a tank top later on, jeans and a tank top, because these authors have no imagination when it comes to costuming their characters whatsoever. We cannot be arsed. Yep, wearing a tank top. I spoke too soon. We're already like 2 lines down. She's wearing a tank top. And she has a scar on her left hip, like a badass. Also, we don't seem to be in the Darklands anymore for some reason, because she's like fixing her gaze downward. And she knows he's not wearing anything underneath that thin sheet. So she can see. So I don't know why we went to the Darklands or when we got away from them, but she has scars on her body, so she won't let men love her because scars make her hideous, which is another pretty standard character trait. The guy she's hooked up with is a command, capital C, command soldier. Creative naming still going strong. I should have put that on the bingo card. So the guy's like figured out that she's leaving, obviously, because she's putting on her pants and like inching towards the door. And she's like, shit, he's figured out I'm leaving. Like, wow, great detective work. I thought this character could read minds, but okay. Of course, she can't remember this guy's name because we need to know that yes, she fucks, but no, she has never felt romantic love before. Ooh, she's got a rifle. Hello. Usually if there's guns, girls aren't allowed to have those. Now maybe she'll go hunting with the rifle, but mostly use handguns later. We will see. She lives in the farming district. There are districts. She's in Ward Z, which is farming. Because Hunger Games did it. Should I already give this book Hunger Games did it? I don't know. I feel like there's so many more opportunities. So we'll wait. But if not, it's already getting Hunger Games did it. We're already getting main characters the special because like when she was tested to own the rifle, she's like better than everybody. And her uncle had to be like, maybe don't be so awesome or people will get suspicious.
Gee golly gosh glorioski, thought Mary Sue as she stepped on the bridge of the Enterprise.
Okay. So she decides now she wants to read his mind because he was like talking about coming to visit her farm. And she's like, well, now I got to read your mind for some reason. But in this world, people can shield themselves against mind reading. So this is a problem that I have encountered with when you have powers, and we'll talk about this, I'm sure, more within this book. If you're finding more reasons why your characters can't use their powers than finding reasons for your characters to use their powers, you probably need to rework something. Now, this is showing us that she does have a power, okay. But immediately we're also finding out that a lot of people can counter it. So we're going, here's a cool mind reading power. But also, now the author can say whenever they don't want to have this character able to read someone's mind, that they've been trained to shield their mind. So even though this is setting up that she has a mind reading power and some people can counter it, which is good information, it's also an easy out for the author to be like, yeah, I gave my character this power, but anybody I say is just going to be able to not allow her to use it. We're already writing around the main character's power. So we do find out that mods like her, I hope we find out what they're called mods, like when and how are they genetically modified, presumably, to have superpowers. But mods like her, when they read each other's minds or use their powers on each other, they feel an electric zap, whereas regular people don't. So I'm curious to see if that's going to come up later, like perhaps later she finds out that the boy she likes is like her because he like feels the zap or something. So we get some names, the derogatory names for her people like aberrant and silverblood. Okay, a toxin made them like this. So very similar to the random virus in that other book that we read. Oh, why can't I even think of it? In Powerless. Powerless, it was a virus. Here, a while ago, somebody released a toxin and made superpowered people. And now there's an evil general who hates them for no good reason. I should have, because Powerless did it on this bingo card, honestly. Okay, so they're at an inn. Interesting. She has her mother's eyes, but her mother is not in the picture, presumably dead. So we might already have mother is evil or doesn't matter, because being dead qualifies as doesn't matter.
I would also like to point out the mild internalized misogyny that all these authors seem to have, where the dead fathers were always able to teach their girls to be amazing, the best ever, masters at their craft at the age of 9 years old. They're already doing things that adults train entire lifetimes to do because their dad taught them. But mothers never teach their daughters anything useful. Mothers just die or are evil. Like, there's never, yeah, I'm super good at navigating the woods because my mother taught me. That nobody's mothers teach them shit, and I'm sick of it.
Okay, fortunately, the author does not go too deep into this. We get bronze skin and her mother's eyes, which we don't actually know what that means because we don't know her mother. Presumably, she would then have dark hair, unless we're going to find out that she has, like, cool silver hair or something. So far, she might just look exactly like Katniss. So she escapes her date by running to the bathroom, but then she leaves the bathroom and she's like, oh no, the guy I don't like is coming to find me. And so she yeets herself into a different room in the inn, and we instantly have a meet cute with who I think is going to be her romantic interest, because this ridiculously muscular arm wraps around her and she's pressed against a ridiculously firm chest. And the only kind of people who have those are identical male leads, but let's find out more. Also, he's growling in her ear. This guy is inconceivably attractive. Wow. We're just diving right in. We're on page 8, and we already have Hot Boy Meet Cute. And, like, it is so contrived. He just happens to be in this room that she happened to wander into while she happened to be escaping from her previous date.
You're kidding. What a crazy random happenstance.
His hair is dark, swept away from flawless, symmetrical features that could have been chiseled out of stone. Just the right amount of stubble shadows his strong jaw, and one corner of his mouth bears the indentation of a dimple. I wonder how pronounced it gets when he smiles. Although, judging by the cold, dangerous glint in his eyes, I get a feeling he doesn't smile often. Well, I feel very comfortable giving this identical hot boy, because he sounds like all of them. I did not actually bring a marker over here. That was smart of me. One moment. All right, identical hot boy. You're getting marked off. On page 8, we get our description of the identical hot boy. This author's like, we can't waste any time setting anything up. We need to get the sexy man into the book now. As I previously mentioned, the female lead character is often just a vehicle to get us to the male character. All right, I gotta read faster. Oh my god. Bad at this. His tongue comes out to moisten the corner of his mouth. What an odd thing. Okay, it's hot, I guess. Oh, allosexuals, is that hot? They're already like flirt arguing back and forth, of course. Oh my god, he smells exactly like he smells exactly like the guy in Powerless. I can't remember his name because he doesn't matter. But this dude smells of pine, leather, and a hint of spice. Why do these men all smell of pine? Are they walking around with car air fresheners in their pockets? Do they roll around in pine needles in their spare time? It used to be that sandalwood was the hot man smell, but now it's pine for some reason. I don't know if I want my man to smell like a tree, but sure. Now, she's scrappy, but of course, like all of these interactions, she's scrappy, but he is just so big and strong that her tiny little girl muscles can't fight back. So when she goes to knee him in the groin, he like instantly stops her. We need to know that she's feisty, but that she can never, ever, ever, ever overpower this man in any way, mentally or physically. Oh, he's already straddling her. We are already, wow. There's so much book left and we're speed running this. Oh, we have my uncle's been training me to fight since I was 5, but of course she can't have any chance of overpowering the romantic interest. The romantic interest always has to be the strongest and the most capable. The girl can be the second most capable, and like in some scenes, we can see the author like maybe playing lip service to the lead girl, like being able to succeed at something, but ultimately she will never, ever in any conceivable way be better at anything than the guy, especially not fighting. Like, these authors cannot conceive of a world where a man would be bad at fighting and a woman would be good at it. Better even than the man. That is impossible. Impossible. She decides that the best course of action now is to flirt with him because she's a woman and the only it literally says this, that like the main power that women have is flirtation. And I'm throwing up in my mouth already, and we're only on page 9. That's impressive. So she's decided the best thing to do, since she's pinned down under this big, strong man that she could never overpower, is to grind her hips against him. Their village is called Hamlet.
Didn't even try.
It's the lack of trying for me, everyone. It's the lack of trying. Every time I read Ward Z, my brain thinks it's World War Z, like the book. And or the movie. I didn't like the movie. But anyway, yeah, that's what I think of. When I see Z, I immediately think zombies. She tries to read his mind, but of course he's also very heavily shielded. See, what I would have done is have her able to read the lesser guy's mind in the other room, but not this guy's. Like, to show, that still shows that some people can block it, but maybe it's a more rare ability so that the author can't just pull whoever needs to be able to block it out of her ass. She's trying to figure out who he is by examining his surroundings, which would normally be a good idea, but he's like got very nondescript surrounding because these hot boys don't have personalities. But then they hear the sound of her original date calling outside, and she's like, uh-oh, gotta go. But Hot Boy did ask her name, so he's going to remember her for later. Probably he will give her, though, a cringy nickname. Should have had cringy nickname on here. But honestly, if I wrote down every single trope that these things use, it would have just been the whole bingo card. Also, we have the contrast of the guy that she was in bed with seems to be a perfectly reasonable guy. We keep hearing that he's gentle, that his face softens, that he's very understanding. And those are not qualities we want in a man. We want gruff, overpowering, rude, bossy. Those are the qualities we're looking for in a potential mate. Oh, and this guy is likes her a lot. The soft one. He likes her a lot. And guys aren't supposed to like you. Men liking you? No. We want the one who hates you at first. Apparently they have like pseudo phones, so the undesirable guy has given her his phone number. There are so many capitalizations too. Like, a lot of novice writers think that you have to capitalize everything in your world, otherwise people won't know what's important. But if you capitalize too much, then nothing feels important. So she goes outside and it's like everything's set up for the celebration of whatever they're celebrating tonight. The streets are well lit. It's nighttime. The streets are brightly lit. I don't know what happened to the dark land that they were in, but they're no longer there. I wish they'd leave us the hell fuck alone. The hell fuck, you say? The evil guy in charge of them all is called the General, capital G General. So one of her friends comes running up to them, a girl named Tana, who will probably find out is black. If she stays in the book, she might just be like a character who's just here to help us with exposition. But this character is also a mind reader, and so when they like meet each other's minds, we learn that like mind readers have a certain signature with each other. I don't know if this will matter later. Interesting choice to have the psychic talking back and forth is in a different font, not italics. Normally we would see italics being used for that, but I guess, I mean, it's fine to use a different font. It's an odd choice of font. It's a very blocky font, and I would think he would want something a little bit more like wispy looking for like mind melding back and forth. Her friend is of course immediately talking about the main character's love life. She did come up with the soldier's still hanging out with her main character, but of course the friend is like, ha ha ha, you always having sex. Oh, she is black! I called it! But apparently also their like veins bubble or some shit when they're psychically communicating. So like if they roll up their sleeves, you'll see their like veins doing weird shit. Like, okay, that's a choice. But our main character is so special that her veins don't do that. So she can be out here in a tank top psychically communicating, and it doesn't matter because she's special.
I can't quite decide if the author really wanted to make the main character special in this way, or if it was that important to her that the main character be able to wear a tank top.
When the network first tried to recruit me, but network is not capitalized. With everything that we're capitalizing in this book, what is the network? Who does it recruit and why is that not capitalized? But her uncle, good old Uncle Jim, Jimothy, the uncle, was like, no, she can't join the network.
Prepare yourself for a perfectly outrageous motion picture.
And speaking of Uncle Jimothy, he psychically reaches out to her and is like, come home. So she's got a handy out. I'm still like reeling at the fact that the meet cute was just stumbling into him in a hotel room. Like, we didn't even do something thematic with it. Like, she didn't run into him in the street or while she was doing something in character aside from hiding from her date. I guess the biggest character trait that we want to get from her is that she hides from dates. Also, she asks her friend, like, by the way, who's the gorgeous jackass staying at the inn? Because we all know who the important character in this book is. Also, that means that her conversation with her friend has not passed the Bechdel test. I mean, that and, like, they were also talking about the boy earlier as well. She's just like, oh my god, you're so horny. You're always having sex with soldiers. And now she's like, and by the way, who's that hottie? So we have 2 female characters that have names that are having a conversation, but it is in fact about men. Also, she's having a whole psychic conversation with her friend with her soldier date standing right there. they're just like silent, having a mental conversation, and he's just apparently just watching them stare at each other. She's so wishy-washy that she can't tell this guy that she doesn't like him. So she lets him kiss her and even kisses him back. And we're probably supposed to hate this soldier guy whose name is Jordan because he likes her too much. And by too much, I mean he tells her that he likes her and wants to go on more dates with her. And ew, disgusting, what an undesirable trait in a man. But she also is like not telling him. She's not being honest with him. She's leading him on. And I hate to say leading him on because so many people use that as like a way to belittle women, but she legitimately is. She's not communicating. She's trying to sneak out. She's kissing him back. Ma'am. And then we're probably supposed to be on her side when she doesn't want Jordan anymore and she'd much rather have super hot guy that she met at the inn. We say hell fuck again. So apparently hell exists in this world. But suddenly there's a commotion, and the main character says, what the hell fuck? Apparently some child is being attacked by a white coyote. The main character did mention that white coyotes are attacking her family's cows. So now I guess white coyotes are attacking the village. But of course, a giant white coyote, bigger than all the other white coyotes, is dragging a child away into the woods, as you do. And I'm going to predict that the main character is going to have to use her supernatural abilities to save the child, and then it'll turn out that super uber hot guy that she met sees her do it. Will it matter that white coyotes are like attacking villagers later in the story? I'm going to guess no. I'm going to guess that that just exists so that we can kick off the plot, heavy quotes. Yep, so our main character grabs her rifle and aims for the coyote, and everyone's like, no, you're gonna hit the kid, but of course we know she won't because she's amazing. She's better than everyone. She's the special, almost certainly. But yeah, that's the end of chapter 1, is her taking aim, and I'm certain that she's going to shoot the coyote, and then everyone's gonna be like, how did you do that? That was impossible. You're definitely the special. But yeah, here we go. That certainly is the beginning of a book. It's not doing anything special or unusual. I will say that the writing so far does not sound like AI writing to me. I've read a somewhat marginally okay amount of AI attempting to write fiction, and this isn't it. So my thinking is that if the author did use AI, they used it probably in the brainstorming or like outlining process. So they cheated on the creative side of things, probably more than the actual like writing side of things, would be my guess. Now you can also use AI to like help you punch up your sentences and stuff like that, which may be something that she did. All of that is stealing though. All of that is stealing because the AI takes art from other artists who have learned and grown and mastered their craft, and it just regurgitates that for you on the page. So that's not art. But I don't know that she's done that, and the writing quality is not at this time giving AI, like generative AI, like she just let the AI write it. So I'm thinking that if she did use it, it was probably earlier in the process. Again, my guess so far from chapter 1. But anyway, I have stuff I gotta do today and my battery is dying, so I'll see you for chapter 2. And we're back for more of Silver Elite. So a couple of things that I've been thinking about in the couple of days since I read this. One, this is a perfect time to remind everyone that I am a developmental editor. That is an editor who can help you make your story, characters, plot, flow, whole bunch of details like that better. And if I was developmentally editing this book, I would be asking if the author was married to that meet cute. Because that was just kind of a pretty weak meeting where the character just happened to stumble into the room that the hot guy was in because she was going to the bathroom and hiding from her other date. That's not very thematic for the story, and you want your meet cute to also fit in with the story, unless the story is that the main character stumbles into a lot of things, which it might be, I suppose. I'll read on and find out. What I would suggest is, okay, we've got this setup of the main character fighting white coyotes on the edge of town trying to save a child. Let's make that scene a little bit bigger. Let's make it a little bit more impactful, like the white coyotes are attacking, maybe some people are having to fend them off, and Hot Guy appears to help do that. And maybe they bump into each other, maybe they get in each other's way, maybe there's some back and forth where he's like, what are you doing? Why do you have a gun? You know, like suspicious of her. She can be suspicious of him. Now, yes, that means we're going to have to skip the part where he straddles her, but there's a lot of book left. I think we can get to that stuff. We don't need to have that in the meet cute. Anyway, so they fight some white coyotes. Oh no, a child has been taken. They're both preparing to take the shot, but only she can make it. And that is why he goes, who is this girl? But what do you guys think? If you were going to replace this meet cute, what would you do to replace it? Or did you like randomly stumbling into this dude in a room just because? The other thing I want to talk about is there is a map, and I forgot to mention it. It's not even a 2-page spread of a map. Like, it's not on the inside cover as you so often see. It is just this. So we'll see if it matters.
Get used to disappointment.
The wards, Z Ward, aka Hamlet. There's a place called an airfield, Red Post, Sanctum Point. Apparently none of the other wards have letter names, or maybe they're not even there, because it's just a very small continent. We have the Eastern Sea, a place called Heath's End, the Western Sea, the South Sea, a place called Tierra Fay, and a place called Base Camp, the Ravaged Coasts. So it oscillates between extreme lazy naming and very standard fantasy naming. So, you know, things like the Ravaged Coasts. We don't really get much detail at all, and so I'm wondering if maybe this map was AI generated, honestly. You know what I really want, and if you guys know if this exists, please let me know for free on the internet. Not AI. I want a map making, service. I want to be able to go in and use tools, like in Canva, to make a fantasy map for my books. Because, I haven't been able to find that, and I suck at making maps. Those are my things. Let's go on to chapter 2 of this book with this bird motif that was a stock image. We'll shill out the big bucks for those sprayed edges, but we will not pay an artist to draw a bird. A feeling of foreboding shivers through me. Boy, that is a Jenna Moreci line, if I ever heard one, honestly. So as we suspected, she did shoot the white coyote perfectly. The boy is fine. We learn of their town as everybody's scrambling to help the kid. We learn of their town that it has everything they need, but it's very small. So let's see, the rations store, pub, schoolhouse, dance hall, media house, and medical clinic. Those are all of the necessities, I guess. They even have a media house, which I assume is a movie theater. Their villages and cities are policed by soldiers and run by controllers. So controllers are basically cops, but we have to call them something else. So of course, one of the leaders of the town, one of the bad leaders, is like, hey, you shot that coyote through the eye. That's pretty neat. Nobody seems super suspicious at this point. They're just like, gosh, your Uncle Jim sure taught you well. Good old Jimothy.
Jim. Spock, Jim.
And she's like, yeah, he sure did. Now I need to leave. Boy, her date tonight is determined to be the undesirable boyfriend archetype. Why is he still here? He's still hanging around her. They were doing a one-night stand. And now all of a sudden he's like, yeah, actually I am the Jacob, or the, what was his name in FourthWing? You know, the undesirable guy. The sweet one who cared about his best friend. He just did it the wrong way. Oh, she rides a motorcycle. Ooh, we got a badass over here. Also, I thought that the hot guy from the inn was gonna be present and see her and she might catch a glimpse of him. But apparently he does not care about young boys being savaged by coyotes. So, I mean, why would he? He has hot guy things to think about.
But fit hot guys have problems too.
Jordan is really, really into the fact that she's such a good shot. He's like, you shot that coyote in the eye. I've never seen something like that before. Apparently everybody else is just stormtroopers because no one else is accurate enough to do that. Now here's some telling, and we are probably going to be seeing more of that in this book. This is something that I can help you root out in your own book. I bristle taking great offense to that. We can infer that she's offended. So you could just say, I bristle. Hardly, I guarantee him a better shot than anyone in Jordan's unit. See, she's offended. We can tell she's offended, so you don't need the telling of taking great offense to that. Now some of us, myself included, have a tendency to tell what the character is feeling and then go on to show. And then we just need to get in the habit of when we edit, going back in and getting rid of that initial telling because the showing is doing the job. Of course, we have the never draw attention to yourself archetype. You know, the uncle's like, no, you have to stay under the radar. I kind of wish I'd put that on the bingo sheet. Girl has to stay under the radar. She's convinced that she's like given herself away by taking that shot to save the boy. I'm not so sure. Nobody else in town except for Jordan here was reacting like that was terribly unusual. Everyone was just like, wow, amazing shot. Great job. Jordan is just trying his best, and she just will not tell him, I'm not interested in you. He's like, I want to come over to your house and we can set up a shooting range and practice together because I'm actually decent with a rifle too. And she's like, oh, my uncle doesn't allow people onto our farm. And I'm like, just tell this boy you are not interested. Why is that so hard? Yeah, and then she kisses him to distract him from her marksmanship. You know what would have solved this problem that you're having? Way back before you started having it? Being honest with Jordan that it was just a one-night stand and you're not interested in a relationship. And then she speeds off on her sexy motorcycle like the badass she is. So she's thinking about how she needs to stop sleeping with soldiers, but she can't sleep with any of the men in town because they all want relationships. Honey, Jordan also wanted a relationship. Maybe if you led with, hey, I would like to have sex, but I don't want a relationship, then you probably can find men who also want that. We find out her age. I couldn't remember if we knew her age, but she's 20. 20 years old, so. You know, an idiot. I guess that tracks. I've witnessed so many women bending to a man's every whim. I won't bend. Yeah, I bet you she bends over backwards for hot guy later in this book. Every girl is independent and sassy until she meets the right domineering hot guy. Okay, we have a new character. His name is Wolf. Have we got like a third leg in this weird love triangle? Because she's getting close to the ranch and somebody like mentally contacts her. And I thought it was maybe her uncle. They start poking fun at her immediately about her proclivities for enjoying sex, which girls are not supposed to do. And she's like, oh, Wolf, he's always so sassy and he's a relentless flirt. So we need to know that every boy is like into our main character, don't we? She kind of likes him. So he really is just the one guy from FourthWing. Why can't I remember anyone's names? Dane. It was Dane, right? Yeah, he's just Dane from FourthWing. Because you know he's going to be replaced with Super Hot Boy that we met at the inn. Yeah, he's a childhood friend. Wolf here. He's a childhood friend. So, of course, he's going to become the undesirable one somehow. We ditched Jordan. We have two undesirable ones here for this love triangle. So Wolf is not actually his given name. It is a nickname because when they were kids in the Darklands, they made up nicknames because they weren't like supposed to be friends. So she chose Daisy for some reason. It's her favorite flower. Did she see a lot of daisies in the Darklands? And then he chose Wolf, of course. We keep reiterating, I have a feeling that that's going to be why this book is so long. The author keeps telling us the same things over and over again. Like, we've had twice now how lonely she was living in the Darklands with just her uncle. And so she was excited to have a friend. And we don't need to know that 2 times. Like, the first time is enough. She asks Wolf if it ever bothers him. They're mentally communicating, by the way. They're not in the same place. So we don't know how hot Wolf is. But what do you want to bet? He's a hot, kind of vaguely indigenous guy. I just get that vibe. I don't know why. Mystery. So she's sad now that Jordan, the guy that she was trying to get rid of, could never truly know her because, like, he's a normie and she's special. And it's like, you didn't like him. You didn't like Jordan. Why are you feeling sad that he can never truly know you? You couldn't get away from him fast enough. So once there was a silver blood purge 25 years ago, so a little bit before she was born. And now Silverbloods are just totally living sneakily in the society because it's apparently super easy to disguise that you have silver blood. I guess you just have to never ever bleed in front of anybody. Presumably. I bet we never really find out why the bad guy hates mods so much. He just probably just does because they have powers. That's usually how it goes. The bad guy is usually like, well, you have power, so I hate you.
Something could really be done in this book and this universe if the author had any skill or interest in that kind of thing, with the idea of the mods being able to read people's minds, but everyone also living in a surveillance state, because you find out that there's just like cameras everywhere and they're living in a surveillance state, even though it doesn't really matter and the author doesn't really do anything with that. But like the idea of the villain being afraid of people who can read his mind, which is like the ultimate surveillance, while he is obsessed with surveilling his people. Like, you could do something with that, I bet, but this author will not.
Also, so far, the powers in this world, the only powers that people have are telepathy. And mostly so far, it's just been communicating with each other because everybody else has been able to put up some type of mental block super easily, so she can't read their minds. Nice and vague, just the way I like it. So she's talking about how after they came out of the Darklands, her uncle was like really well set up and was able to just start this farm. The uprising has always been good to Jim, whose insurgent efforts as Julian Ash were plentiful and effective. Good, plentiful and effective. That's all we need to know. He was a plentiful and effective insurgent, and therefore he could afford a giant cattle farm. Okay, so they were in the Black Lands for 3 years, we finally find out. Apparently they have synthetic alcohol here. I don't know why. Like, small town, you'd think that'd be prime real estate for creating some moonshine. Now, this is a new one. I'm used to hearing cross my arms over my chest, which is overkill. All you need is I cross my arms. People know what that means. But this one is I cross my arms to my chest. We get told a bunch of stuff about Uncle Jim, how he's a recluse and doesn't like to talk to people, but he's also very loyal. And this might normally bother me because I don't like to be told about characters. I like to be shown. However, I have a suspicion that Uncle Jim is either not long for this world or not going to be in this book for very long because the main character gets taken somewhere else. So, I mean, we have to be told about Jim. We're not going to have enough time to find out. So the White Coyotes are a hybrid, and it's giving Mockingjay. So she tells old Jimothy about her amazing shot, and he's mad at her. It's the exact scene that you expect. She says, in case you've forgotten, I work for the network. And I'm like, I forgot you worked for the network. What the fuck is the network? So apparently there's something called inciting that is also part of her powers, and she hasn't done it in years, but it caused her to have a scar on her hip. The scar is a burn that was clearly put there to hide something, and the author is teasing us along with what it's hiding. But apparently it was because she incited. Okay, so there are other wards with other letters. They're just not on the map. He says, are you still planning to go to Ward T sometime this week? Or she asks that. So we have the uprising, capital U uprising, that Uncle Jim works with. And then we also have that whatever part that she works with. I forget what they're called already. I can't find it. I'll say it again. So I'm like, are they connected or are they like two separate uprisings, rebellion groups or something? And he calls her Little Bird. I mean, her name is Wren, but we always got to be comparing these heroines to birds. And then she goes to bed and falls asleep thinking about the hot guy that she met at the inn. Because that meet cute was so random, he feels so disconnected from this story. And I kind of like was able to put him out of my mind completely until she was like, yeah, I dreamed about him. Oh, there's a horse. There's a horse in this book. She rides a motorcycle and a horse. We even have a breed. It's apparently an Appaloosa. I have owned an Appaloosa. Her name was October. She was great. So she takes her pony out to go fix a fence. We're leaving a lot of gaps, but not anything that I necessarily could point out and be like, this author doesn't know horses. Like, apparently she saddled up off page, so that's fine. And then they get to where the fence is broken, and she lets the horse graze. And I'm like, you really shouldn't do that with the bridle on, but maybe she took the bridle off. Maybe she brought a halter. Like, I don't know what the situation is with, or maybe she is letting her graze with the bit in her mouth. I don't know. I don't like to do that personally. I don't like to have horses grazing with their bit in their mouth, but maybe she doesn't care. But yeah, so there's enough gaps that I can't be like, oh, that's a mistake, because I don't know. We're kind of just speed running her going out to fix the fence. As she's fixing, though, she gets a psychic message from Uncle Jim who says, "Don't come back to the house. The cops are here," basically. Immediately, she's like, "I'm going back to the house." So she just doesn't listen. She don't listen, which makes me wonder how she stayed alive this long. So these are all things that you would do to get a horse to move faster, but it seems like unnecessarily explained. Leaping in my saddle, and I click my tongue to command Kelly to go. When she's slow to start, I apply pressure with my calves and urge her into a gallop. Like, those are things that you do, but, like, do we need them that spelled out and lengthy? I apply pressure with my calves. So she goes and rides up to, like, an outcropping overlooking the farm, where we learn that mods have perfect eyesight, and she's peering down to see what's going on. Uncle Jim has a cowboy hat, which means that they know what cowboys are in this universe. And of course, they're here because of her, and because of her amazing shot last night, because they wouldn't be here for any other reason. But oh no, Jordan is here, not Jordan. So they grab old Uncle Jimothy, because apparently they also know who he is, but they're here because of her, I guess, and throw him in the back of their military vehicle, and they're away. But he tells her to find Griff right before he's taken away. So, yep, that certainly was a chapter. I'm probably gonna go do something else, because I'm not invested yet. Like, this book hasn't made me care, and it hasn't made me, like, angry enough to really want to keep reading either. Like, I don't care about these people, nor do I hate them. They just are. So hopefully this book will pick up in some sense sooner rather than later. Hello. It is very hot. We're in the middle of the big old heat wave here in Wisconsin, and we don't have air conditioning in our house. So I do what I often do when we get a heat wave in the summer, and I chopped off all my hair. I was filming a different video today, and I decided we should try to get another chapter in of this, because I have not had time to sit down and read it in like at least a week, if not more. So far, this book hasn't done anything terribly offensive. So far, it's kind of been boring, but we'll see if maybe things pick up.
Get used to disappointment.
I also had an ice pack to try to keep cool, and Nigel has it now, so you know how it is if you have pets. Whatever they need. I can't get over the fact that her uncle's name is just Jim. Tana, they took Jim, not Jim.
Jim?
Yes, Captain.
Jim.
Tana is apparently a projector. We are doing Powerless with all of the silly names for people's different abilities. Again, but Tana can use her psychic abilities to project images of people's faces. So normally, if the cops come through, she like projects their faces to the main character and Uncle Jim, old Uncle Jimothy, and so they know who the cops are. But Tana didn't do that this time. Cops were extra sneaky, I guess. Yeah, apparently her shot was so good that there's no other explanation besides that she could be like special. And she's like, they came to the ranch to watch me shoot because I made the mistake of shooting in front of the cops. And they're called the command, but I'm calling them the cops because that's what they are. But like, all she'd have to do is go down there and be just like a mediocre shot, like flub a couple shots and be like, man, I was so lucky last night that I didn't hit that kid. It was pure luck, guys. I don't know what to tell you. I just did it on instinct and didn't hit the kid. Like, she could lie and probably get away with it. But these main characters are really, really bad at lying to the fake police. Luckily, she's got a tunnel because her and Jim have everything like prepared. They have like a million contingency plans, she says. So that means that this author can just like throw in whatever she wants to say that's here. But there's a tunnel in a shed in the back.
Is this real or a legend?
Oh, it's a real legend.
There's a motorcycle in there. So she rode her horse to the tunnel. Now she's just abandoning her horse for the motorcycle. Is she just going to leave it there with its saddle and bridle on? Just like, figure it out, horse. It's up to you now.
You're right. And when you're right, you're right. And you're always right.
She just smacks the horse on the butt and tells her to go home, girl. I'm sure that this horse can unsaddle herself. There's no one at home. Jimothy's been kidnapped. You're not there. This horse is gonna run home, which it's an old trope of just smacking the horse and telling it to run home. And yeah, totally the horse is 100% gonna do that. Yeah, horse is famous for always being the smartest about that sort of thing. But even if she does go home, who's going to take her tack off? She's going to stomp all over her reins and hurt herself and just be horribly uncomfortable until someone wanders by and saves this poor horse. Like, no, you can't just smack a horse on the butt and be like, go home and call it good. Why does she ride a horse anyway? If she's such a badass who rides motorcycles, why didn't she just ride her motorcycle out to fix the fence instead of the horse? Because, like, terrain that a horse can manage is, for the most part, terrain that a motorcycle can manage. She didn't say that she was, like, going up all these rocky paths or anything. It was a horse fence. It's probably a flat field. The motorcycle can do it. So she went to one shed where there was a secret tunnel underneath that contained her motorcycle.
Two lovers forbidden from one another.
She abandoned her horse and rode her motorcycle to a different shed. I would skip that middle step. Like, I feel like the reason that this book is long is because this author is going to have her character taking a lot of extra steps that aren't necessary. That's already just a vibe that I'm getting. So I would just have her on the motorcycle to begin with and only go to one shed with one tunnel.
A war divides their people.
Like, have her swing by maybe if you gotta have her stop by a shed to grab some extra supplies, because she grabbed a go bag as well. Have her do that. But we don't need a secret motorcycle garage when she could already have just been riding on a motorcycle. Then she hears the buzz of a drone, so we have enough technology for drones, and she hides inside this second shed. The surveillance cameras in the wards are omnipresent. Their unblinking gaze a reminder of the company's Everwatch fly. Okay. But then she said, it's rare to see a drone this close to Hamlet. We're a small, inconsequential village. Hardly worth attention, which to me contradicts itself a little bit. Are there cameras everywhere, or are you unworthy of their attention? Now, yes, maybe those cameras are all stationary cameras, but it still feels contradictory. We have inconsequential and inconsequential basically back to back, so we got some repeat words. Do I have that on my mega bingo card? One of the things that I do for you as your developmental editor, by the way, is point out places where you have repeated words, because human brains love repeat words. Human brains just do that. That's probably not something any of us, including myself, will ever be able to eliminate completely from our writing, which is why it's helpful to have somebody else look at it and go, hey, you used this word like 5 times in the same paragraph. So she wasn't even here for the shed. She just had to go to the shed from the previous shed to hide in the shed from the drone. But now she's ditched the motorcycle and she's running for the trees. So like this is like a Rube Goldberg device of unnecessary steps that we could have just skipped and had her just like maybe ride her horse to the tree line if we want to skip the motorcycle, because apparently she's abandoning that too. She's got 2 modes of transportation in this getaway, and she's getting away on foot ultimately. It doesn't matter who your leaders are, they're all assholes. I sneakily suspect that that is going to be as deep as this book goes in the exploration of the situation that this world is in, of the dystopian elements. I feel like that's about as far as it's going to go. Leaders are always jerks. We have President Severn. It's basically President Snow. So she runs through the tunnels.
I forget the next couple lines, but then it goes, secret tunnel!
And she runs into Tana's father, Griff, who's there to help her. So good thing we had a horse and a motorcycle, because now she's just running through tunnels on foot. Apparently, she's never had anyone that she liked die, or liked enough to be linked with die, because she's like, Jim's not dead, because Jim told me that when someone dies, you can feel the disconnect. I guess she's lived a pretty charmed life here if no one she's liked has enough to be connected to has died. So, of course, this guy's like, okay, we're going to use this. They have an underground railroad, essentially. We've got a series of safe houses. We're getting you out of here. And she's like, no, I have to rescue Jim.
He's dead, Jim.
Of course, the courts are corrupt in this world. Everything's corrupt. Of course it is. So, like, Jim's trial would just be a mock trial, and then he'll be sent to the labor camps. Because dystopian. So she's like, I don't care what you say, man. I'm rescuing my uncle. You can help me or not. And of course he's like, fine, I'll help you. Oh, thank goodness we don't have to do any of the finding out how that works. It just says, the uprising secures me a leisure pass and a ticket to the next speed train to Sanctum Point. Thank God. That wasn't hard at all, actually.
Super easy. Barely an inconvenience.
I have a feeling we're going to have a lot of hand waving whenever this author doesn't know how to handle something or doesn't want to handle something. For example, she has to press her thumbprint to, like, verify her train ticket, essentially. And it says, My ID had already been flagged. Fortunately, over the years, the uprising has successfully infiltrated every level of the company, including intelligence. 10 minutes before I board the train, our operative hacks into my file to lift the flag. Well, if it's that fucking easy, why is Jim imprisoned at all? Like, if you've got people everywhere that are able to, like, hack at a moment's notice, why is Jim still being held captive? I should have had makes it easy on here because, like, I have a feeling that a lot of things are going to be unnecessarily convoluted, such as taking a horse to a motorcycle to then fleeing on foot and 2 different sheds. But whenever the author doesn't want to have to think about anything, it's going to be super easy. Like, oh yeah, the network, the uprising hooked me up with all of the things I need, so shut up. So here's something you don't need to do. This is, again, I feel like this author's just one of those people who uses more words than they need. And that's why this book is so thick. Unnecessarily. I am guaranteeing that I will find this book unnecessarily long. So, my thoughts wander, morphing into memories. One in particular, the first time Uncle Jim taught me how to create a path with my mind. Okay, that's too many words. Instead, my thoughts wander to a memory of the first time Uncle Jim taught me. Like, see, like, you can eliminate these words and make your sentences smoother, sharper, crisper. Makes your story better, and it frees up some words if you want to use more words later to tell a better story later on. Also, she's on the train now. We have no idea what the train looks like. We are not doing descriptions of space, which is something that always annoys me. I get people who are like, I don't care. I don't, the people who especially can't visualize things in their mind, they're like, I don't care if the book doesn't have anything for me to visualize. I don't care if the book doesn't give me descriptions. But, like, what about the people who do? Like, you can't just say, I leave things out of my book because some people can't picture stuff in their heads. Books include descriptions of things. That is a thing that books have, that stories have. Skipping it is lazy, in my opinion. Like, I know it might be hard, and you don't have to describe everything. Like I always say, you don't need to turn into Tolkien and spend chapters describing a tree. But, like, what do these trains look like? What do the people around her look like? I'm just going with vague bullet train-esque vehicle and pseudo-futuristic, like what is the clothing? What are the skin tones and hair colors? What is the vibe? Is everybody calm? Is everybody stressed? Like, nothing. We get nothing.
You lose! Good day, sir!
So we remember when old Uncle Jimothy taught her how to, like, reach his mind for the first time, and we get a hint that she's extra special when she did it, because, like, not only is she able to picture, like, the silver thread that ties them together and his mental barrier is like a wall, but she also sees, like, golden sparkles, and Jim is like, not the golden sparkles, but he doesn't speak on it. So of course that's a hint that she's extra special. Do I have main characters as special on here? I bet I do. I really ought to have that one. If not, it should be the middle square, but I bet I have it on here. We're going to give her a little bit more time to be even more the special before we officially give her that square. Oh, and of course, in Jim's mind, when he sees, like, how badass she is, she can sense that he's afraid of her. Boy, she's really not clearing those main characters the special allegations, is she? So yeah, the train ride does not matter, and it does not set the tone for the world at all. And now she's already off the train and linking with Polly, her usual handler. So they've got this whole freaking network set up, and no way to get Jim out. So 2 people meet her, and she immediately impresses one of them with how quickly she, like, mentally links with him. And they hop in a car. What do the cars look like? Fuck you, we don't know. But there's cars. How many modes of transportation is she going to use in just one chapter? We had horse, we had motorcycle, we had train, and now we're in a car. We find out about somebody called Valance. J.D. Valance? J.D. Valance. Anyway, J.D. Valance is, it's probably pronounced Jade, but it looks like it's J.D. Is a traitor, is a class traitor. She's a mind reader who works for the bad guys, and she's, like, super powerful, so she's useful for catching her fellow mind readers. Yeah, but old Jim's already set to face the firing squad, so... So she's like, okay, well, our network's gonna get him out, right? And they're like, nah. And she's like, but he's super important. He's one of your most important agents. And they're like, he's not one of our most important agents. The shadowy people in charge of this underground organization are like, yeah, we talked about it. The council like convened and he's not important enough for us to save. Because leaders are always bad in these books. They're always bad. They're probably older adults, and by older I mean like my age, like in their 30s, who are in charge of being wrong. Because that's what those types of characters always do in these sorts of books. If you are like older than like 25, then you're an official old and you're in charge of being wrong. Or you're a parental figure. Those are your options. He straight up says it. Julian Ash, that's Jim's real name, was not our objective. You are. And this is the author setting up for like, this is probably in the advertising, like here are all the dangerous things that are happening to this character in this world that I have bothered to not build at all. Because remember, describing places and people is part of world building. And people who refuse to do it just because they can't picture things in their heads easily are skipping out on a major part of the skill of writing. At least in my opinion. I guess you can argue with me if you really want to.
Now, just to clarify, because I do know authors who are blind, actually blind, and that doesn't mean that they get to skip out on describing space at all, because there are lots of other ways to describe space besides visually, including smell and touch and sound. The soundscape of a place is so important. So setting the scene in some way is super important, even if it's not just visually. Especially if you're focusing on the character and whatever the character would notice. That's one of my general rules of thumb is like, if you are sitting there going, what do I describe in the scene? How the heck do I start? What's my way in? What would your character notice? What would your character pay attention to? And if your character would stand in a space and pay attention to nothing in the world around them, I kind of worry about your character.
Anyway, it says, all I know is that I'm in the most dangerous place on the continent, without a weapon, with my ID flagged, and my uncle about to be shot to death. Doesn't that sound like a snappy manufactured tagline? We know nothing about the continent. It's a continent, presumably. What's the weather like? How big is it? How many like different factions are there? Is it all controlled by one central evil government? What is the culture like at all? So of course old Uncle Jimothy is going to be like publicly executed. So because this society also loves violence. That's like the next thing that we found out about them. They totally love violence. They're the capital from the Hunger Games without any, work done to give them personality. So she's like, I gotta save Uncle Jim, but I can't just walk in there because like it'll be super obvious. So I have to come up with a better plan, and that is the end of chapter 3. And now I am gonna go get ready for my other job. Bye.
Well, it wouldn't be a read-along without an audio error. We lost all of the audio for Chapter 4, so you're just going to have my camera's audio. Hopefully this will not be a long chapter, and you won't have to suffer for very long.
All right, we are back for more Silver Elite. Not feeling very elite so far. If you hear my washing machine going in the background, my house noises are now your house noises. We are in the same house. Yesterday has been very warm, and I spent the first half of the day doing work out in the heat, so Gatorade for me. Let's go. Chapter 4. Our heroine is now in the safe house on a bed, feeling sorry for herself, because she has not yet rescued good old Uncle Jimothy. I'm waiting to find out why the heck. Like, the story started out with her and Uncle Jim going into this place that was like pitch black, this area of the world that was so dark that you couldn't even see. And so presumably she spent at least a couple years of her life basically blind. But so far every memory that we get from her mentions being able to see within the memory. So it's like, what were we doing with that weird time in the darkness? So we get another memory with good old Jim Drew. And it is how she got her name, because the name that she has is not her real name, which allows for her to perhaps turn out to be like surprise royalty later on. So that's always fun. But she sees a bird. She's like, what's that bird called? He's like, that's a wren. And she's like, cool, I'm Wren now. So she was just laying in the bed in that safe house, just to have this memory about how she got her name. Why is it here? See, okay, let's talk about flashbacks and memories, all right? Because we're gonna make this educational somehow. We have to. Flashbacks and memories can be an important part of a story. You don't want to overuse them. They can be too much, and some people can really get sick of them, but they can be really helpful and important, especially if you don't want to start out the story like so far back. If starting the story super far back would drag your story down, then you can rely on flashbacks and memories. But just having a scene to put a memory in it, not very skillful. What prompted this memory? She's just lying in the bed thinking of Uncle Jim, and she's like, let me have a memory of the time that I chose my name. Why? Why? It could be as simple as she hears a wren outside the window and she's like, that's unusual for this part of the city. But hey, remember how my uncle helped me pick my new name? Like there's ways to jump into a memory or a flashback, and this author is being incredibly lazy about it. She's just like, well, we need memories and flashbacks, so I'm just gonna plop them into the story. Don't worry about it. Also, she got away from the safe house off page. She's like, I got out of the safe house. They're probably looking for me by now, but who cares? Great that she can just do these things. This book likes to skip things that could be interesting and instead bog us down with other things, like how she had to take a horse to a motorcycle to then flee on foot. I'm never gonna be over that. That's 3 modes of transportation for one escape scene, and it wasn't even an exciting escape scene. But anyway, she escaped from that place too. Like, why did we even put her there? Honestly, why did we have her go to the safe house if she's only going to just seconds later escape from it off page? Oh, we finally have a mention, just as I was saying that's never going to come up. She says, I grew up in the dark after all. I am a shadow.
I'm Batman.
Again, skipping things that would be cool to see. Just hand waved away as the character succeeded in it. Don't ask questions. She just had really good dice rolls. As I made my way to the west sector of Sanctum Point, where the command base is located, I eluded every single street patrol and surveillance drone. Great. Good to know you didn't have any problems, and we can just gloss over that in a single sentence. So she easily, and without any difficulties whatsoever, makes her way to the execution area of the city where everybody has gathered because this populace is incredibly bloodthirsty. And we're probably not going to go any deeper than that. They just are. Also, because we have not spent time building up this relationship, we keep having to be told why she's here to save Uncle Jim. So, because it's Jim. He saved my life countless times, and it's my turn to save his. Somehow, I hope. Yeah, okay, we get it. We keep being told this. This is not the first time that I've just been flat out told. But it's Jim! It's Jim, and I have to save Jim! Jim, Jimmy, Jim.
Jim, please.
So here's an example of small things that you can cut because you can trust your reader to understand them. Because we already know, especially since we've been told a million billion times, that she has a relationship with good old Uncle Jim. She doesn't want him harmed. So she sees Jim being led out of a truck, and she sees that he's looking okay. He hasn't been roughed up. And it says, no bruises, no bloody nose, I'm grateful for that. We don't need I'm grateful for that. We can infer that she'd be grateful for it because she likes Jim. He's her good old uncle. We could just skip straight to the next line. He's been in their custody since yesterday, so it could have been a lot worse. Always be on the lookout as you're self-editing for little things like that don't need to be there. Save yourself some words, and trust me, this author is wordy. Her writing style is incredibly wordy, and I would definitely say she's an overwriter in a lot of cases. She tends to use just more words than she needs to say something. Now, obviously, you don't have to use the shortest and most succinct possible way to get information across. Obviously, these are fiction books, so we want the prose to be beautiful as well. However, just throwing more words at a sentence is not what makes them beautiful. Even here, after it says that it could be a lot worse, I wasn't sure what I was expecting. A mangled face, maybe? We don't need I'm not sure what I was expecting, because it's clear from the above lines that she was expecting him to be roughed up, and she was pleased when he wasn't. But now, she's like, I don't know what I was expecting. Yes, you do. Like, also watch out for places where you accidentally contradict yourself, like this. So Jim sees her in the crowd and finally psychically links with her, and because his arms are bare, everybody can see the silver blood running through his veins at his arms, and everybody's, freaking out and yelling slurs at him and throwing rocks at him and stuff. I wish I had a better understanding of why the populace is so ridiculously these people, but of course it's sort of a fantasy scenario and we need the populace to hate them. That's just what the faceless mobs do. Also, so far I'm really unimpressed with this main character because she's like, I have to save Jim and I don't know how. And never once do we get her thought process as she maybe tries to figure out a plan. She just seems to think that one will automatically present itself if she stands there looking baffled long enough. And she is in fact a main character in one of these books, so probably that is what's going to happen. But like, I would like to see her try to come up with a plan. I would like to see her looking around and weighing her options, even if they're shitty ones. But no, she's just like, gosh, how am I gonna save him? I don't know how I'm gonna save him. How am I gonna save old Uncle Jim? I don't know. Use your brain. So the firing squad arrives, there's a bunch of them, and one of them at least looks excited to be there, which of course disgusts her to her core. But they're evil. Evil people are just being evil. We don't need to go any deeper. The people here watching this execution are so evil that some of them have even brought their kids, like it's a family outing, because we need to understand, in case you missed it, that they're evil. Hope you were paying attention. These are some very subtle clues. So they're going to execute Jim, and she has still not come up with a plan, but now she's starting to get emotionally worked up. It took her a little while to really get... This author doesn't seem to be terribly good at writing emotion. It's very sort of matter-of-fact about it. She's trying, but she's not very good at it. Emotion can be hard to write, and sometimes I struggle with it too, but I'm not feeling this character's emotion. I'm just having it described to me, if that makes sense. But she's getting emotionally worked up, and I think her powers are probably gonna explode in some amazing display, if I had to guess. And I was correct! And if you guess that she's going to start controlling their minds and make them all drop their guns, you win. Conveniently for her, these people don't seem to have, like, the mental guards up that other people she's encountered have had, or maybe this special type of magic that she has can bypass their mental barriers. But anyway, you'd think that these guys would want to have good mental barriers if they're executing people who can, like, read their minds. But she's got them all controlled, and she's telling them to shoot themselves with their own guns. So, our hero. She's all like, these people are here for an execution, it's disgusting. But also, and at the same time, I will make them shoot themselves in front of this child. But unfortunately for her, her desire to murder these people is ruined because she's not used to using this power, and she loses it just exactly at the last moment, and all of them pull the guns away from their own heads and shoot Jim. That's what they were trying to do. They were trying to pull the guns away and shoot Jim, not just pull the guns away from their own heads and aim them at the ground or anything. Straight at Jim. And so they do that. But now everybody knows that there's someone who can mind control within the crowd. They're called inciters. Why not? I feel like the author just got a thesaurus out for that one. Inciters are like, there's no trial, they're just killed because they're too dangerous, which she's making it sound like that's a weird thing when she just almost made several people shoot themselves in the head. She's like, it's so cruel that inciters don't even get a trial. And I'm like, after what you almost just did, I kind of don't blame these people. She thinks she's going to get away, she moves into the crowd, but oh no, someone grabs her and holds a gun to her head. And that is the end of chapter 4. Thrilling. I don't care about this main character. That's the biggest problem I'm having. This main character is such a nothing burger to me. She just... And maybe it's just because this author's not terribly good at emotion, and I just don't feel the connections that this character is supposed to have that drive her. I think it's because this author is a little bit too focused on, like, let's get the plot moving. Let's get this character interacting with her hot guy, honestly. So everything else is just pushing her towards that, and it's clumsy, and it's not making me like this character. Like, this part of the story should be endearing me to the main character, making me want to root for her, and I just don't care about her at all. There's nothing to her. She's not clever because she just, like, stood there waiting for herself to figure something out while Jim was about to be executed. She's not, like, brave, really. She's just stupid. Like, there's a difference between brave and stupid, and she's on the stupid end of things because she's like, I need to save Jim. End of thought. That was the full idea. save Jim.
It's not stupid. It's advanced.
She was totally fine with making the executioners shoot themselves. It wasn't like she was trying to scare them by making them aim their guns at themselves, or perhaps she could have had them aim their guns at the crowd. Intimidation or something, or to sow confusion so she could go help Jim. No, she was going to make all of these people blow their own heads off. It's a choice. It's a choice for your main character that that's the first place she goes. That is her first idea. No other thoughts entertained. That it's straight there. She could have had them threaten their own commander. Like, there were options, and she just no thoughts, head empty, have them blow their own heads off. Anyway, I'm going to stop recording, and then I'm probably going to come back for at least one more chapter. Alright, I had an error and lost all of the audio for that chapter. Let's hope that doesn't happen again, because we are going on to chapter 5. I love it when it errors, like, at the end. It just, like, refuses to save it. And it's like, oh, there's an error. You don't get your file anymore. Chapter 5. So, smash cut, she's now in an interrogation room. A windowless interrogation room where we find out that she doesn't like being in windowless rooms. Will this matter?
Get used to disappointment.
A man and a woman come in to interrogate her. Seems like your standard good cop, bad cop kind of vibes. Ah, but a third person comes in and you'll never guess who it is. You'll never guess. It's that guy that she met at the inn in the world's most contrived meet cute. And he's just as attractive as I remember, taking up all the air in the room with his broad frame and stunning features. It irritates me. He's so hot, and I'm annoyed by his hotness that every single one of these books has. So she tries to read all of their minds, and she can't. Their minds are too well shielded. And she says she's intrigued by the fact that their minds are so well shielded. And it's like, but so far, we've not seen you successfully read the mind of anybody whose mind is shielded. So why are these guys so much better at it? Were you not trying before? So they're immediately suspicious of her. I don't know why they think it was her. Was she, like, laughing maniacally? Like, why do they think that she's the mind controller? It's unclear. Like, they've definitely captured her. There's really no evidence. Except for now they've, like, connected her to old Uncle Jim. But she's playing dumb and just being like, he was my uncle, and I came to see him executed. No, his name's not Julian Ash. It's good old Uncle Jimothy. We keep cutting back to check in with the hot guy standing by the door just to learn that he still has no expression on his face. Because, you know, these hot guys are very famous for their stoicism and expressionlessness. She just can't read him, but he's so hot. But we just keep cutting back to find out that he's still the same. If we hadn't already got an identical hot boy, we would now, because guess what? He's got tattoos swirling up his arms. They all do. I don't know. Guys who are into women, go get swirly tribal arm tattoos. Apparently that's the key. All these girlies want is swirly, vaguely tribal arm tattoos. By the way, if you're wondering if she's like a stone cold badass, she is. She's just playing the part for these people when inside she's not rattled at all. She just watched her uncle die and she's kind of sad about it, but like sad in the background. Conveniently, her like official file doesn't start until she was 12 because apparently in this society, children just aren't put into the system until they're 12. So like there's nothing else on the file except for her just living with her uncle. So they go on for a little while and she finally sasses the guy by the door, hot guy by the door, and he says that he's the one who decides whether she walks free. Don't care. That's that chapter. So I'm going to see, that was a nice short one, so I'm going to see if my audio actually saves this time. Hello, we're back. If you hear any noises, the ferrets are out. I usually don't like to film while the ferrets are out because it can be very chaotic, but we'll see how we do. So I was bored this morning and I'm like, let me just try and film. I was looking at my Bad Book Bingo mega grid and there's a couple of them that we're only on chapter 6, but I already feel pretty confident in giving it. For example, I think I want to give it Rebels. I don't think that the rebellion is going to get any more complex than it already is. There's just rebels. They have a complicated network that they can do just about anything except for they just didn't feel like getting Jim out of trouble, but they're everywhere and can do everything except for when they can't. So I'm just going to give it Rebels. where's it? Dead father, hidden master. Now Jimothy is dead, and I fully suspect that we're going to keep getting like flashbacks and memories of how he trained her to be a badass. So I feel very confident giving it Dead Father, Hidden Master. We are, because it's a mega grid, we are obviously not very close to any bingos yet, but we're going to keep an eye on it. And we are on chapter 6. Let me ask you something. Everybody loves sprayed edges. They're really pretty. But like once you actually open the book, they get this kind of weird, like they're not pretty anymore. They get this weird texture to them, and that bothers me, and I don't know why. So I'd rather just have regular edges. I suppose books with sprayed edges, you're just supposed to not read them. You're just supposed to admire them. Hello, Jadzia. Jadzia doesn't come into many videos. No, hi. Hello, Jadzia Dax, the precious angel baby. We need our nails trimmed. We do. We need our nails trimmed. It's a two-person job, so Adam and I both have to be free at the same time. Oh, your baby, such a good baby. You're not going to bite me, probably. No. So we left off with him, with the guy just being like, I'm the one who decides if you leave here alive. And then smash cut to her having been left in the room for nearly 3 hours. So he said that, and then they all just left. They said nothing else. She's trying to psychically contact others, but unfortunately they're not responding, which I feel like is going to be an issue that this author runs into. Every time you give a character a magical power, you butt up against times when they would use that magical power and you don't want them to for the plot. And as I've talked about in so many of these books, if you are continually finding reasons for your characters not to use their powers or that the powers don't work, you may need to rethink your plot, your powers, something's not working. If you're spending more time where the character can't use their powers than when they can, you gave them those powers, they should use them. And I'm finding that a lot of times in this book already, we're only on chapter 6, she keeps trying to reach out and psychically communicate, and she's being denied or blocked in some way. You've got a character with the ability to communicate psychically over long distances, or at least decent distances. It's not completely clear how far she can do this. But you've got a character with this ability, and you're going to have it be constantly blocked. Here's the challenge for us authors. Allow your characters to use their ability, and then you have to deal with it. You have to deal with it. If you're sitting there going, I don't know what would happen if I let her use that ability, let her use it then. Let her use it and write. You're an author. You have the imagination. Let them use the power and you write what happens next. So anyway, that was my ramble about like challenging yourself. If you have a scenario where your character would have a power or behave a certain way and you're afraid to do it because you don't know how you're going to deal with it, do it anyway and deal with it. That's part of your skill and your superpower as a writer. Also, we are getting, as the book goes on, more and more repeat words. So he's taking the role of silent contact literally, as in he remains emphatically silent. Silent and silent. And also, just wordy again. He's taking the role of silent contact literally. That gets the point across. We do not then need to be told again, as in he remains emphatically silent. We understood that he wasn't responding from the previous sentence. It has not occurred to this girlie that perhaps the room that she's in, like, blocks psychic abilities. Like, there's probably some sort of special metal, just like in Powerless or something here, that's blocking her abilities. And it's not that people aren't responding to her, it's that her abilities aren't going out. But that just does not occur to her, to think that maybe there's something going on. Ah, everyone, J.D. Valance is here. It's probably, Jade is probably how it's supposed to be pronounced, but it is spelled Jayde. So J.D. Valance is how I'm reading it. Oh, is this a detail we knew before? And I just forgot because it doesn't matter. Apparently, everybody who has powers has a blood mark somewhere on their body. Jade's is like right below her eye, so it's super obvious, and our main character's is on her thigh, perfectly positioned for a hot guy to discover later when he goes down on her. Yeah, like, why is that a thing? This makes it sound like JD has a unibrow. She lifts her brow, just the whole thing, lifts it. Ah, we have a badass blonde. We often have those in dystopians, especially like poor quality dystopians. There's always some high-powered blonde lady who's got her hair in a bun, and apparently that is this Jade person. Ah, yes. I'm glad we gave it Dead Father, Hidden Master, because already she's like, JD like sits down across from her and then psychically like tries to attack her mind. And she's like, most people would like flinch because it feels like an electric shock when somebody like does this so forcefully. But I'm not most people, essentially. She's just like, but I was trained from the age of 5 to withstand this kind of assault. And it's like, of course you were. Of course you were. JD just stares at our lead character. And our lead character is like having a meltdown in her head about like why she can't, like there's no talking in her head. There's no communication. Our main character is cleverly, oh so cleverly, because now we're supposed to believe that she's smart, even though she is demonstrably not. I almost gave her, Why Is It Always the Dumb Bitches, just for her lack of coming up with any plan to save her uncle. She just went to his execution and stood there. That was her whole plan. But like, now she's like so clever. She's like, I need to make sure that I think the right things so that this person will not suspect me, which is like, couldn't anybody do that then? Wouldn't this mind reading thing be a horribly inefficient way to interrogate somebody if all they had to do was like, I don't know, think about a catchy jingle the entire time and you couldn't find out the information you needed? So a lot of this, like these 2 pages are just covered with her lying in her own head and keeping her cover story of like, Uncle Jim lied to me. He never told me that he was a psychic guy. So yeah, about a page and a half of her just thinking lies at this woman, and that's it. She's won already. Like, this person just... It's that easy. She's like, I did it. I actually did it. I fooled J.D. Vance. But from what we saw, it was not difficult. She just had to think lies. Yeah, she thinks about how Uncle Jim probably also used the same trick to feed lies to this person so that they would not think that she was anything special. And like, if it's that easy, if it is that easy to deal with this interrogator, how is this an effective form of interrogation? She's put in a cell and she finally begins to interrogate the fact that she almost killed 8 people. Yeah, that is something that you should think about. That does feel like maybe a little bit concerning that was your first thing you reached for was murder.
Hello, Tandy. You wanna come here? Come here. It's Tandy. It's Tandy. It's me, Tandy. Hello. We were playing earlier. Mom got out the toy and we played. She's got a little ducky, a little stuffed ducky on the end of a string. She loves to chase it around. Oh, yeah? We played with the ducky earlier? That was fun, huh? Wanna go down? Oh, hey, Leon. Oh, all right, you're gonna just bite me now while I'm trying to read? It's the old man. It's old man Leon. It's old man Leon. Here he is. Mwah. 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 So she feels bad for like 10 seconds. There's ferret hair on my lips. Almost kissing my pets and I was having hair on my lips. She feels bad for like 10 seconds that she almost killed these people. And then she's like, but I'd do it again. And I wish I'd killed them because then Jim might be alive. So she really like feels bad, but only a teeny tiny bit that's the first thing that she reached for. So she finally gets in contact with her bestie back home. So she can psychically link over that far of a distance. I wasn't sure if she could. And her bestie's like, our village is like crawling with cops. So she's like, hey, you need to contact the network and send somebody to get me. And her friend's like, yeah, they're not. You kind of burned your bridges when you didn't do as they said before and ran away. So they're just like, fuck you. So I guess they don't know that she's the special yet. Okay, we're getting new lore drop. She's like, she's thinking about her options. None of them are terribly good. And she's like, I could seek out a faithful, capital F, faithful camp. Apparently the faithful are also very brutal because she knew somebody who went to go try to like join them or check them out, and they found his skeleton hanging in a tree.
Honestly, it sounds a lot like the Seraphites from The Last of Us 2, but we don't actually get that much about the faithful in this book. They just reminded me a lot of that.
Apparently the faithful believe that the old era, capital O, capital E, was better than their current era. So I guess they're just nostalgic. The author came up with this word hell fucked, which is just hell and fucked put together, as the quintessential swear word of this world, and we just keep using it constantly. We have no other swearing. But of course, finally, Mr. Silent comes in, you know, the hot guy from before, and we have to take a minute, like a whole paragraph, to mention how hot he is. Even though the lighting in here is bad, he's still irresistibly sexy. As usual, we have him being ridiculously tall, and her just being just like a little teeny tiny little child compared to him.
Okay, but at this point, all these guys are so bigly huge that I can't picture anything except this anymore.
He says his name is Cross. They all have such dumb names. I don't know who is in charge of naming guys in these series, but can we have a talk? Can you and I, let's sit down and have a talk. Why are the names of these men so ridiculously cringy? Like, I understand that probably all of the authors want their men's names to be like memorable, so everybody can gush about which of these identical dudes is their favorite, but it's so bad. It's so bad. Why are we picking awful names? Oh, we got immediately sassing off against him. Like, immediately. She wasn't sassing anybody else, but he's hot, so she has to get to the sassing. So he's like, you can call me Commander or Sir. And she's like, what if I want to call you asshole? Like, you don't know this man. He could have you executed. In fact, he mentioned earlier that he's the one who decides what happens to you, and you're going to sass off against him? This is why I hate these, like, incessantly sassy lead characters who, like, have no self-preservation, but fortunately it's like they know the plot will protect them because their sassing never gets them in trouble. So he basically informs her that she is now she's been drafted, I guess. She's joining the program. Everything is capitalized. You can always tell a newer writer by how much they capitalize everything that could even be remotely important. I will see you for the next chapter. Hello, it is a dark and sweaty night here in the middle of this heat wave. We're back to read Silver Elite. Why? I'm gonna maybe try to, depending on how long these chapters are, I'm gonna try to knock a couple of chapters out tonight. That was not super long. That's not too long. The first few chapters were longer, but I feel like these less experienced authors can't help themselves writing super short chapters. Which makes my life easier because psychologically, I feel like I've accomplished more, having read more chapters. Anyway, chapter 7, oh, by the way, I have my emotional support ice cream. I do not, however, have an emotional support fan blowing on me, which I would like, but also it's noisy. This one, I've seen other people use this word, and it always makes me giggle. Cross swivels toward the door. Swivels is an interesting motion for a human being to do, if you ask me. Swivel, I think swivel chair. I think like he's turning around, but like in such a, like a dancer would turn around, just like on one foot, like shoo, like a pirouette is how when you say he swivels, that's what I picture. Maybe I'm the only one who has this problem, but like that just does not seem like the correct word. But anyway, she's been conscripted, and I'm sure we'll find out why. Like, why conscript this random peasant girl?
Get used to disappointment.
So they're like, you're a soldier now, your farm has been reassigned, somebody else is going to take care of your cattle. And she briefly thinks about her horse, and who's going to take care of her horse. And I'm like, well, I don't know. For all you know, your horse ran off into the woods, got her bridle snagged on something, and strangled to death. Because you just shoot her away. Like, what are we doing? She already feels confident enough with this man to tell him, you're such a prick, to his face. That certainly is a choice. She's not going to be punished for it. She's mad at him, but, like, we're very confident with our words here. He's decided to give her a condescending nickname, like they all do. He's calling her Dove, because she has a bird name, and he's decided to pick a different bird for her. This is charming, somehow. Why do we like this same condescending man who gives you a nickname against your will? That part especially. That part... Like, I understand the allure of some of these things, like, on an intellectual level. They don't do anything for me, but on an intellectual level, I can be like, I can see the fantasy, I can see why it's there, but why does giving a woman a condescending name, why is that, like, a sexy trope? Adam says that in Western culture, we have come to equate love and control or men towards women, and him giving her a condescending nickname is the first step towards the control that we think is love.
I've been theorizing this and pondering this, and I want to dig into it and do research.
It's an interesting topic to think about, for sure, definitely. I do not find control to be love at all, but maybe that's me. So apparently she has been conscripted into this like special branch of the military, to which he says that 90% of applicants get rejected. And he's decided to take this random girl. He must be able to tell that she's the special. He must have some kind of... He has love interest instincts to know that she's the special. So he's like, that one. We need to put her in our super elite military program, for which training is literally just about to start. It's like a day away from training. He's like, isn't that lucky? And I'm like, golly gosh, isn't it though? I wonder if we're going to find out that, like, being a crack shot is part of her powers, or is she just that good? Because he's like, yeah, I saw your, like, perfect shot against that coyote, and that's why I want to recruit you. She's like, damn, why did Jim teach me how to shoot, and why am I so good at it? And I'm like, yeah, why are you so good at it? Is being able to read people's minds make you a crack shot? Is that how that works? I'm sorry, the fact that her uncle's name is Jim will never not be hilarious to me. So she's having a breakdown because everything's kind of hitting her at once. They've taken her family, they've taken her farm, and, you know, normal response. But his name is Jim. Jim. I have nothing now. No Jim, no ranch. That just will never not sound like the silliest placeholder name that the author forgot to replace with anything besides Jim.
He's dead, Jim.
Oh, we remember that this character exists. I was almost convinced that we were not going to return to him. But that guy, Wolf, or Jacob, if you will, is what I'm calling him in my head, is trying to psychically contact her. For having the ability to psychically contact people, she has been using it very little. So he contacts her and he asks if she's crying, and she says, no, I think I'm falling ill. I'm falling ill. Like, not, I think I'm getting sick. Not, I think I'm coming down with something. I'm falling ill. Are we in the Victorian era? Does she have the vapors? Like, she does not talk like that. Where did that line come from? So they have an inconsequential conversation just to remind us that this character fucking exists because he's useless right now. And then the scene's over. She didn't even tell him about good old Uncle Jimothy. So we cut to the next morning. She wakes up, she's told to shower, brush her teeth, and she's given a uniform to wear, which is a blue t-shirt and blue pants. And then it says, this is my worst nightmare. Right after she describes the uniform. Ah, that's right, you can't wear your famous tank top. But then she goes on to say, I'm utterly defenseless in enemy territory, blah, blah, blah. But like... putting that line right after you got done describing her uniform and knowing how these girlies feel about their fashion, I'm like, you know what? It probably is her worst nightmare. She switched from thinking, I have to save Uncle Jim, to I'm going to find a way out of here. But we know how well the power of thought did for her in saving Uncle Jim. So she's probably just going to keep thinking, I need to get out of here, without ever actually trying to do it. So they go through an army base here that's supposed to be like a maze. She says it's a maze within a maze, but that's the only description we get. What does it look like? We don't know. We're left to our own devices with what it looks like. I'm kind of picturing like sterile, futuristic army base, but it could be a dingy cinder block army base. It could be anything, really. It could have rainbows and smiley faces painted on the walls. Oh, we finally get a little something. They're inside a long corridor with white walls. Well, thank God, a single corridor has been described. Every single beat is being covered, and I think that's another reason that this book is so long, as this author doesn't have the skill to know what we need to see and what we don't need to see. We do not need to watch every single step of her waking up and then getting to being led to the barracks. Like, nothing is visually described, but we are every single move that is made by her and the person who is leading her. When you could summarize this, knowing when to summarize is an important skill that this author has not yet learned. More swiveling. Now heads are swiveling to look at her. So right away we're going into a classroom setting. Now I've never been to basic training, but please chime in if you have. My husband has and my brother has. And I'm going to bet that like nothing about this training that she's going to go into will have anything in common with actual like military training. It's probably going to start being like dragon military training, because I think that's probably all this author knows. I'm going to just guess that now. Like, she's deciding who she wants to sit with, like this is a high school class. So now she's sitting here and they're getting the usual speech that you expect. You are, well, elite soldiers, or you're going to be elite soldiers, and many of you will not be here in blah, blah, blah weeks' time, which she assumes means that she'll get to go home, but we all know probably means that they're going to be dead in some type of Hunger Games-esque style training scenario.
Get used to disappointment.
But then another soldier, instructor, whatever, comes over to her table and she recognizes him, and that's the sting at the end of the chapter, because every chapter has to end in a cliffhanger. This author was probably told that at some point and took it all the way to heart. Anyway, I'll be back for the next chapter.
Hey, what
All right,
the?
get over here. All right,
what the?
I'm going to answer some questions, mister.
Okay.
I'm going to answer questions about the U.S. military for these nice people.
Okay.
All right, so first question. Would the U.S. military ever grab somebody off the street and put them into elite military training program? No pass and go, no basic training.
So it depends upon the military, but yes, an elite force where you only need 2 weeks of training, i.e. you're cannon fodder and you're part of a human wave squad.
So if you were just joining the military and you went to basic training, like give us a quick overview of like what are your first few days of basic training like?
Well, one, if you want a fictional book that does a good job of demonstrating basic training, I think Starship Troopers does the best of that so far. But what are your first few days at basic training? Your first few days at basic training are actually pre-processing. You're not in basic training. You're in the amorphous medical holdover, and you've got like 200, 500, I don't know, a lot of people living in a barracks that is just like an open bay with 100 bunk beds, and you're going to like, random people will come in and grab random people for medical or for this, or to go off to actual basic, and you're just like in the holding area getting yelled at and doing random push-ups and getting shot with medical stuff. And
Okay, after that, like, what is like your first actually day of basic training like?
So eventually you get out of pre-processing, you get assigned a unit, and every one of your unit is supposed to show up at the same time. So you all like get hauled into buses, driven to a place, and then the doors open, and then the drill sergeants are sicked on you, and they yell at you, and they chase you around, and then they form you up, and then they, generally speaking, tear apart all your stuff, make you dump out all your equipment on the ground to make sure you've gotten all of the stuff you need, but also to like psychologically tear you down. And then they make you go up to your barracks and organize it all, and they yell at you on how to organize it, and then then there's lots of push-ups and physical exertion because you're doing things wrong, and then they yell at you for doing things wrong, and then they make you do PT for having done things wrong. But it's basically like they need to get you in shape, and they need to teach you how things are done, and they need to deconstruct you and tear you down. So yeah, all of that on hyperspeed.
You wouldn't say that it's like going into high school for the first time, where you pick out which clique you want to sit with at the cafeteria.
No, you barely get to know each other's names on the first day. Like, you learned your drill sergeants' names, and if the drill sergeants, like, chose to chew into anyone in particular, you learned their name.
So would you say, like, the first things they teach you are things like formation and marching, or? The
first thing they teach you is fall in, to get you all into line. The second thing they teach you is, it's not marching, but it's a formation move, which is the front-leaning rest position, which is how to get 100 people in a very small space to be able to fit into a box and do push-ups together.
There's absolutely zero super tall, muscular, hot guys standing around waiting for you to fall in love with them, or would you say that there's actually a decent number of those?
Well, the drill sergeants are all usually pick of the crop. Like, they are stunning specimens.
I don't know, they let my brother do it.
However, I mean, some militaries are different, but most militaries, like, you have a tent as a uniform. You cannot pick out anyone's physique. You have not had these uniforms long. You don't know how to, like, get them to fit.
Let me get this straight. The uniform for the military probably should not be, like, skinny jeans and a tank top?
Generally speaking, no.
Well, what the hell?
I mean, don't get me wrong. There are attractive people in the military, but you can't tell because everyone's under a tent. It was funny, but there were rumors going around in my unit in basic training that they put saltpeter in our food because it's supposed to inhibit your sexual sex drive, etc. And so some people eventually asked the drill sergeant about this, and he's like, no, we don't waste money on that. You just don't find any of these people around you in tent-like clothes attractive.
And also you're being forced to do a bunch of like horrible physical exertion and mental strain. Yeah, you're probably not horny. All right, so if you went into the military the normal way, how long would it take you before you got like placed in some sort of elite special unit? Or unit training program, like some elite special training program?
So basic training itself is all summer long. So what is that? 12 weeks? About 10 to 12 weeks. If you signed up to be an infantry person, then you would be like basic is just introductory, and then after that you go off to your skilled training school. In the Army, if you joined an infantry unit, they would combine basic and your infantry specialties training together. That's the path for you actually to becoming elite. So I think that's more like a 16-week course. It's been years. I might be off by a couple weeks. And then like Marines, like being straight into the Marine Corps would be similar to Army infantry. So about 14, 16 weeks for your basic and infantry training. And then from there, you can start going into elite schools. The first elite school would probably be air assault, this is how you fall out of a helicopter. And I think air assault is like 4 to 5 weeks. And then after air assault, they'll let you probably start taking some of the other more advanced ones like Ranger or Airborne. Probably Airborne first, which is, I don't even remember how long Airborne. This is where you learn how to fall out of planes. That is how you are actually elite. There is a shorter way to become attached to elite teams, but that's just like you're standing around the cool kids. You're not actually a cool kid, which is after your basic training of like 8 to 10 weeks. You go to your school, and it's like one of the shortest schools you can go to, and then you just like, I'm a cook, but I'm a cook for Delta Force. Ow!
We've added an extra interrogator.
Yes. So you're attached to Delta Force, and you're attached to the cool kids as their supply person or as their cook, but you are not.
I also have another question real quick. So, like, if you had an elite training program where people are going to be doing things like jumping out of planes and infiltrating enemy bases and stuff, you got the people who are going to be doing that physically. Would they be doing the exact same training as the people who are going to be, like, the techie side of it?
No. And generally speaking, you get, like all of the trainings and schools I listed are for the generic. Like, our airborne is like, your parachute is attached to a ripcord and you're pushed out of the plane and you have no control over how you fall. You are not the I'm landing on a rooftop sort of person. You're just the I got my ass kicked out the door and I didn't die type of person.
So you would not be like infiltrating enemy bases like 6 weeks after joining the military?
No. Not unless they just like they're infiltrating every base with every person they can throw at it, and they're just like, whoever rolls nat 20s on 10 consecutive rolls gets this information.
All right, I think that's everything we need from you today. Get out of my damn ship.
No!
Get out of my ship.
I'm so comfy!
Shoot! Scram!
It's been so long, I don't remember the actual durations of things. I should have probably looked those up before starting the call. I'm sorry.
And we're back. Let's do chapter 8 real quick. Let's knock out chapter 8 real quick, and then I am going to take a nice shower and go to bed. How many people from her past are we gonna like be cramming into this book? Because she's got that guy, that wolf guy. She's got her friend Tana or Tara, whatever, her black friend back home. Like, how many people from her past do we need? Some of these names, like, we have characters, the naming is really inconsistent. We have characters like Uncle Jim.
Jim, please.
And then we have Morley Hanley, which sounds like it's straight out of the Hunger Games. We cannot seem to decide what, like, the tone is for naming characters in this world. But anyway, Morley Hanley was somebody that the main character knew, and they had a son named Matt. And presumably this is Matt. Thank God we knew him from the past. It turns out that her beloved son, what was his name? Matt. Matt, son of Morley. Morley's mother had psychic abilities, and Matt apparently didn't, and he turned his own mother in, but now he stands before the main character, and I don't know why we care. We've got a little bit of a Big Brother theme going on here that I'm going to bet the author's not actually going to do anything with, but the main character, they're each given like a pad from Star Trek, and the main character has to put her thumb against it, and then it has all of her information, all of her life laid out before her. And she's like, oh my gosh, we're surveilled all the time. Maybe the people who follow the old ways are right and they're not being watched always. And I'm just like, oh, okay. The faithful are free. And it's like, all right. Are we going to do anything with that? The surveillance state themes? I feel like probably not. She reaches out mentally to all of the people in the classroom, but all of them are shielded because everybody is taught to shield their minds. Granted, not like super well or extensively, but like, again, I feel like this is just the author being like, I gave my character these powers and I keep finding excuses that she can't use them. Oh, also, we've thrown something else in there. So she does pick somebody to, like, probe their mind further. And she finds their thinking self-deprecating thought. And she, like, backs out immediately. And she's like, that's why I don't like doing this to unsuspecting minds. Because, like, your mind is supposed to be where you're the most private. And it's like, oh, good. So not only is it not super easy for her to do it, but we also have she doesn't like to do it. So we're just piling on excuses why your character can't use the power you gave her. Honestly, I tend to be happier with she won't do it than she can't do it, because won't do it implies some characterization on her part. We have a new best friend character since the slot has opened up. I do think that this girl is white, so that's a change of pace. But she leans over to her seatmate, who she caught thinking self-deprecating thoughts, and this girl's name is Liddy. You don't get a sweet name like Liddy unless you're going to be used to tug at some heartstrings. Oh my gosh, she's so sassy. I'm gonna have to give it sarcastic always. Let me see if I can find it. Yep, sarcasm 24/7. I'm giving it that. So they're making them do this stupid test. There was a woman in the room when they came in, and they're supposed to answer a bunch of questions about that woman to make sure that they were, like, paying attention. And it says, how many officers were in the room when you sat down? And she thinks, I could write 2, but instead I write 1 officer and 1 massive prick.
Why are you the way that you are?
She decides that she's got to play middle of the road and get only some of the questions right, even though, of course, she knows all of the answers because she's better than everyone. Oh, we've got an Abernathy. Oh, Hunger Gamesy. Apparently a lot of people didn't get any of the answers right. You'd think by sheer luck that they would have gotten 1. Also, for some reason, he decides to make one person stand up and, like, leave by herself. He's got to embarrass, like, one person first. He's like, yeah, you, random girl, you got none of the answers correct. You're unobservant. Leave. And then she storms out, and then he pulls up a bunch of other people who also got the answers wrong. So it's like, well, why did you single her out then? So he does say that when you leave, you'll be sent back home. So she's like, perfect. I just have to suck it up because she knows that she's good enough to be here. Like, there's never a question in her mind that she doesn't totally belong in this elite military establishment if she wanted to. She's like, I have to pretend to suck because she's the main character in one of these books. So of course she's better than everyone else here. And she knows it. She knows she's a main character. So she's like, I gotta pretend because I am, actually smarter and more observant and better than everyone here. Yeah, I hate it. But anyway, that's the end of that chapter. I'll see you for the next chapter when I see ya. Welcome back to another very hot day. I'm certain that I look incredibly sweaty, but I have this cherry Italian ice, and as soon as it gets thawed enough for me to stab into it, I'm going to be eating the crap out of it. But as I wait, let's read Chapter 9 of Silver Elite. Still waiting for Silver Elite things to happen. We're on Chapter 9, and I'm like, what is the plot? I understand that the plot is this girl with psychic abilities gets put into weird military school against her will. But, like, what's the plot? Not what's happening now. What is the plot? Like most books, you can kind of tell where we're headed by now, by this point. Is the plot going to be like her escaping from the military school? I doubt it. Oh my god. And her romantic interest is such an uninteresting brick. He is so far into the territory of just like all of these identical hot guys that, like, he's sort of a black hole of personality. His character is where personality goes to die. So I forget who Hadley is. I think it's that boy that she doesn't like. They're split into 2 cells or 2 teams, I'm guessing. Black and red, and her new fun bestie, Liddy, who's probably just going to exist to hype her up and tell her that she's the bestest and you go girl attitude, is in black cell with her. Of course the main character goes into black cell. It's more badass. And then Hadley will be the leader of red cell. She's just such a rebel, you guys. She's just so rebellious. Apparently today, their first day ever at this elite military school is going to consist of classroom work, because this author doesn't know how to write a military school. She knows how to write Harry Potter, FourthWing, like all of these classroom settings. Like she's going to go to magic school instead of like anything that would mold these people into actual functioning soldiers. But she's talking about how she always hated schoolwork and was always running away from school because she's just so free, and she just has to be free and be outside and not do what people tell her because she's such a rebel. And I would love to see that rather than being told that. Show me these things about her. Also, I would love to see how she reacts to being trapped somewhere, because she keeps saying that, like, if she doesn't get out of here, she's gonna, like, lose it. But, like, what does she do? Is she bouncing her leg? Is she chewing her pencil? Is she fidgeting with her hair? What does she do when she can't do what she wants? In their first week, they're going to learn things such as interrogation tactics, intelligence gathering, knives, hand-to-hand combat, undercover operations, and the basics of flight. Right. Okay. She's excited now, though, because she just learned that she went to Dauntless school, and she's going to be a badass, and so she has flipped a switch to be like, never mind, I'm in. But, of course, because she's just so awesome, she'll just be like, no matter how cool this stuff is, I can't be too good at it. I have to suck, remember? And I know. Like, it'd be one thing if she was, like, confident for no reason, if she was, like, super confident and then failed at things. But you can bet that she's correct, and she's just automatically good at everything and is going to have to try hard to fail.
That you're the most important, most talented, most interesting, and most extraordinary person in the universe.
We even have resisting interrogation class, like, right away. We're going full FourthWing here. I have Hunger Games did it, but now we are entering, I think, a world of books where I'm going to have to say FourthWing did it. I'm going to have to put that on the bingo card, because we are getting our FourthWing copycats now. Yes, there's no dragons in it, but this is a FourthWing. It's giving FourthWing copycat more than I thought it would. So now her new friend, Liddy, is info dumping on her, so I might have to give it info dump on the bingo card. But Liddy is, like, just sharing all of this information about their world and how people like her are technically legacies, but they call them staples, where, like, they get into this super elite section of the military just because of who their parents are, even if they're not good enough to actually be here, even though Liddy is good enough to actually be here. But also, within this super elite section of the military, there's an even more elite section of the military, which is the silver elite, of course. Again, we're just being told more information about our character, how she's so impulsive and totally runs towards danger, except for she basically just stood there letting good old Jimothy get, murdered until her powers kicked in all on their own. She didn't try to do that. She still keeps going over in her head how saving that boy got Uncle Jim killed. And it's like, she made such an impossible shot that it is inconceivable that, like, a normal person could have made it. That's why she's here. Like, she's like, I should have just let that kid get mauled by a coyote. And I'm like, no one else could have made that shot. Like, it is so tenuous that the reason that all of this happened is that she made a really good shot. She lives on a ranch where presumably they would be shooting coyotes away from their cattle, and she'd have nothing but free time on the open plains to practice her target practice. So, like, why is it so impossible for them to believe that her marksmanship could just be really good marksmanship? We may have our unhinged bully number 2, a guy named Anson, who just, like, looks at her with the evilest of evil stares. Also, this author is just like, all you need to know about people is, like, maximum hair and eye color. Yep, Liddy's like, yeah, he's a psychopath. He enjoys hurting people. Should I give it unhinged bullies now? Because I feel like we're already there. Should I change my Hunger Games did it to FourthWing did it on here? I'm going to give this info dump, which happens to be right next to unhinged bullies. I'm just going to, you know what, I am going to preemptively cross off unhinged bullies because you've got a character telling us that this guy enjoys inflicting pain, and you're going to tell me that he's not going to be an unhinged bully later. This author doesn't believe in any kind of theming for their names. I think they probably just like, did they just look up a bunch of random words? So we've got, let's see, we've got Ivy, Lash, and Bryce. We have another guy who's hot. His name is Kane. Kane is from the mining country, so he's from District 12. I love how everything is split up, just like it is in Hunger Games. Like, everybody's just got one industry and one industry only in their various sections of the world. Sorry, the continent. That's not how people talk. People don't talk like this. So we asked her what she does, like where she's from, and she's like, we're ranchers, and he says, does that mean you're good with ropes? Because I'm not against being tied up. Who talks like that? Less than 5 minutes into a conversation. They've been talking for like half a page. What? No. What? Have any of these authors ever talked to other human beings before? So we glaze over the day because that's boring. Why would we want to know what she's learning about? That's not the important part. And we learn that the barracks is co-ed. Ooh. Do I have horny on here? I'm giving this horny. So the commander is like telling them about their barracks, and he says that it's one person to a bed, and somebody immediately is like, what if we get cold? Between that and the guy who was talking about being tied up, we have a world that is unreasonably horny immediately. Of course, she gets tank tops to sleep in because the heroines of these stories cannot be out of tank tops for too long. Now one of the girls has decided to bully our main character. Okay, it's not the girl doing the bullying, it's the girl being bullied. Other people are bullying this girl because there aren't enough beds. This girl is like extremely, extremely timid and not standing up for herself. So what is she doing in this elite military academy? Why would they want somebody this timid? We get a whole thing about fabric, which we don't need. This author is not certain about how and when to world build, which does not surprise me because I believe this is one of her first ever books. The first book that she has published, certainly, possibly the first one that she's ever written. And there's a reason that I often advise people not to publish the first book they ever finish. I don't know that for sure that that's what the case is here, but I can just tell the fumbling of an author who doesn't quite know what they're doing. They know that stories include these things, but they don't know how and when, so she just throws stuff at you sometimes that's unnecessary, because she doesn't know whether it's important or not, so she's gonna put it in the book. This doesn't make any sense. Unless this girl is a plant, this doesn't make any sense. So we're going full Dauntless here, / FourthWing. I'm going to change my thing from Hunger Games did it to FourthWing did it. How was I to know that this was going to be a FourthWing ripoff instead of a Hunger Games ripoff? But they're like, one of the girls has been here before. She is a repeat, just like there was a repeat student in FourthWing. And she's like, every time there's always not enough beds, and then the commanders see whoever gives away their bed and get rid of that person in the morning because showing compassion is a sign of weakness. And I'm like, okay, so we're going with compassion as a sign of weakness. Very cliche, but whatever. But they allowed in this girl who is so timid. We keep hearing how timid she is. Like, the main character's like, she's not even a lamb. She's a newborn calf who is just like small and struggling and baffled by the world. And I'm like, if someone will get kicked out for giving away their bed, how the fuck did this girl get in here? But of course, this allows our main character to show that she is both kind of heart and like super confident, because she's like, they're not going to cut me. Every time this girl, whose name is Para, speaks or does any action at all, it is accompanied with how frail and pathetic she is. I'm going to eat this entire container of Italian ice. It's so good. But of course, not satisfied to just give up her bed and sleep on the floor, our main character has to be extra, because she's a main character. So she goes over to pester Kane, who's one of the people here. We have a lot of names thrown at us, and there's no way I'm going to keep track of all of these people. So she just crawls into Kane's bed, and she's like, if you touch me, I'll chop your hands off. And I guess my assumption is that, like, she plans for Kane to get in trouble for this or something. I don't know. So then she just goes to sleep next to this guy on his bed. Somehow, on a twin mattress they are not touching. So she must be really hovering on the edge of the mattress, because he's laying on his back. That's the end of the chapter. And I'm probably going to stop here and go back to working on editing my own book. Why did she do this? She's the main character. They just do things sometimes. Anyway, I'm sure it'll be fine, because, like, she's the main character. And we're back. She is snuggled up to Kane. We have to know that he's got some morning wood going on, because she has cuddled up her butt right to his crotch, lest we forget for a second how horny this world is. I mean, obviously, morning wood is a natural thing that happens, but, like, at the same time, we have to know about it. What kind of book would it be if we didn't hear about it? And then the commanding officer shows up and yells at them, and I bet you this is going to be the first time that anybody's ever thought of sharing beds. Like, oh my gosh, this main character is so clever. But everybody's, like, shocked that the commanding officer is here, and I'm like, is this not a military barracks where a commanding officer could show up and ask you to do stuff at any given time? This is the most, like, I thought FourthWing was bad. But, like, if this is their elite military training, like, what's the regular military training like? You're just, like, given a cookie and told to go stand out in a field, and that's your training? And also, we have these guys being called males, because every author now went to the Sarah J. Maas School of Things, and even though these are humans, not fairies, so you don't even have that excuse, she still says, not the way most males would look at a woman in her sleepwear and bra. I mean, good for her for calling herself a woman, but, like, why not most men would look at a woman in her sleepwear and bra? So the commanding officer's like, come with me, and he only means the main character because he knows that she's the instigator. Obviously, he can sense the main character vibes rolling off of her. I don't understand how they plan to ever use these people in any functional way as any part of a military, because she's sassing back to her commanding officer, like, nonstop and being hugely disrespectful, and he's just letting her. This is a boarding school dorm room, not a military barracks, and, like, I'm wondering about all of these women who are writing these military stories without bothering to find out anything about any types of military. Like, zero research has gone into this. They just read Harry Potter and FourthWing and are like, good, I know enough to write a convincing story about a fictional military. So she gets taken to, like, a command room where it's something is finally described, but the room is described. It's got a big old desk and it's got a conference table and there's, like, maps laid out. So it's a strategic room. They've got all of these, like, they've got all this technology, but apparently they're also still using paper maps. But of course, the room she's taken to belongs to Captain Cross, and he's there with, you know, his sleeves rolled up so she can appreciate his muscular arms and the swirly tattoos on them. You know how I've often pointed out that we don't need to say things like, he folded his arms across his chest, he folded his arms over his chest. You can just say a character folded their arms. It is implied where they are folding them, unless they're folding them some other weird way, like, I don't know, like this. He folded his arms over his head. We don't need across his chest, but this one is new. He folded his arms on his chest. Kind of makes it sound like his arms are coming out of his chest, like the arms on his chest are being folded. We learn that he has a very symmetrical face, boring, and a dimple that's always on the brink of appearing, like he almost wants to smile. All these men look the same. They look the same. And also, stop taking dimples away from the rest of us, because my husband has an adorable dimple that I like to give to my male leads, but they are not, like, giant, symmetrical jawed, identical men. So, like, leave dimples alone. Let us keep those. This is a conversation with a commanding officer. You should cut me, I say helpfully. No, the dimple threatens to appear again. I grit my teeth. Does it get you off, the idea of forcing women to do things they don't want to do? I didn't realize you were so interested in what gets me off. I recoil. I'm not. His gaze locked with mine. Are you sure? Fucking positive. That's a shame. I'd be happy to satisfy your curiosity. I know we have to have these conversations because it's the trope, but, like, Why are we sacrificing everything else? Why are we sacrificing all logic? Why are we even bothering to build a world to put these characters in if you're not going to have it matter? Like, why have you created this thinly done society and this weird little military scenario if you're just gonna if this is just happening, if a commanding officer will turn to his subordinate and say this? Why is this not just set in a friggin' high school? Why isn't this the cheerleader and the football player? Because you could replace these two characters with a cheerleader and a football player, and it wouldn't change this conversation. So all he brought her here for was to be like, you broke the rules, and her to be like, me, sass, 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 sexual innuendo. And then he lets her leave again. That was the whole conversation. Oh, we have a training room with mats on the floors. So I'm betting that, again, just like FourthWing, a great deal of this book is going to be taken up with sexy hand-to-hand class. Once she gets back to hang out with her friend Liddy and Kane, the guy that she spooned with, of course they immediately talk about how hot their commander is. As if sensing my gaze on him, he swings his head in my direction. Swings his head, huh? He's just like, you're gonna hurt yourself doing that. Oh, we have a rival and an ex-girlfriend. The girl Ivy apparently used to date Hottie McHotpants, Commander Cross. So we're just getting those two tropes out of the way immediately. Of course, he will have never felt romantic love towards her. They were probably just F-buddies, and she's way more attached than he is. That's the way it always goes. Oh, we have a character named Mira. So we're just stealing names from FourthWing now. And finally, after Liddy info dumps a bunch more, like, catty, girl giggling information about Commander Cross, we finally find out that Commander Cross is Cross Redden, the general's son. So we don't call him Commander Redden. We call him Commander, his first name, like Commander Bob. And that's the end of the chapter. Oh my god, this is just awful. Where's the plot, though? All we're doing is just doing FourthWing, but worse somehow, with no dragons. Why? I mean, I know why. It's because publishing is like, hey, that made money, so let's get a bunch of clones and see if we can print some more dollary dues until people are so oversaturated with this slop and get interested in something else instead.
Didn't even try, made lots of money. Didn't even try, made lots of money.
I'll see you for the next chapter. Hello, it has been a couple days, and I have to go to work in a little bit, but we're going to read some of this. Good, glad that the author pointed that out to us. As you recall, we just found out that the guy that everybody is calling Commander Cross, Cross is not his last name, it's his first name. His last name is Redden, because he's the general's son. And immediately in the next chapter, we have, I thought Cross is his surname. It's not, it's his first name. Last name, Redden. Yes, thank you. Thank you. I'm going to give this to You Think Your Reader is Dumb. We did not need that explained. There it is. Okay. We are heading for a bingo already. If we can get main characters the special, which I think we're going to get, horrifying implications, I Would Die For You, person I just met, and terrible plans, we will already have a bingo. And I'm this close to giving it terrible plans because this main character's plan is to just suck just enough to get kicked out because she assumes, probably rightly, that she's going to be good at everything. So now she's disgusted by him because he's the son of her enemy, and that has always notoriously stopped these girlies from wanting to have sex with these guys. So she's talking to her friend, and she's like, that explains a lot. He's a Nepo baby. But of course her friend is like, oh no, he earned everything he got to be here, because of course he did. Of course he did. He's got to be, like, better than any man who would actually exist in the real world, let's be honest. Apparently he has a brother named Travis, though. His name is Cross. His brother's name is Travis. Oh, yes. FourthWing did it. We already have that one crossed off, but of course he says, weakness doesn't belong here. In Silverblock, we eat the weak. We cut them out like a cancer. So this is going to be some more of that bullshit where, like, somebody has a bad day and they're kicked out. At least they don't get killed by dragons. They have 8 weeks to prove how strong they are. This is the military training they get for this super hyper elite soldier school. See, none of these people are trained to act like soldiers. So somebody asks, how do I get into elite? The look Cross levels him with is ice cold. Recruit 18. Did I say you could speak? He would know not to if you trained him to be a soldier, but you didn't. These are just some guys. Of course, our main character's into it. I'm annoyed how turned on I am hearing him cut some guy down. So good. She's kind of a bully, I guess. Glad we're rooting for her. This is the girl whose like first thought was to make people aim their own guns at themselves. So I'm not terribly surprised. She's like, ooh, look at him bully those people. It's so hot. Do I have like... That is kind of a turn on for these girlies, where the guy is an asshole to everyone except eventually them. I still don't understand why that's such a big fantasy. Why would you want a man who's a dick to everyone except you? Like, yeah, you could fantasize about him being a dick to your enemies, but everyone? So they have another commander. They keep throwing people at me, names. I'm never going to remember who these people are, but they've got a guy named Reddick. And it says, Reddick has the kind of voice that sounds like he regularly swallows handfuls of broken glass, which makes me think that he sounds like RFK Jr. Honestly, not very intimidating. He says, our mission is to locate faithful camps and disband them, to detect criminal enterprises within our cities and dismantle them, to rid our streets and our wards of silverbloods. We're introducing another new character. This author also doesn't understand that you should limit yourselves as far as your cast goes, especially if you're newer, which I believe this author is. There's this urge from a lot of young authors to just throw in every character they've ever thought of, and they can't handle it, and I'm pretty sure that she can't. But now, for some reason, we're introducing another new character. Some tall, arrogant guy is striding into the room. Apparently, this person is named Ro, and he is the younger brother of Cross. Who named these children? You've got Ro, Cross, and Travis.
Obvious exits are north, south, and Dennis.
If AI was used on this book, I'm betting it was used to name these people. And obviously the brothers don't get along, so there's tension. So the main character's like, ooh, how could I use that tension? And I'm like, I don't know, probably by flirting. We have completely forgotten about that named soldier that wanted to be her boyfriend at the beginning of this book. Why was he there? All right, our characters are finally going to do some shooting. They're at a gun range now. Of course, our main character's nervous because she's so good at shooting. And she's like, gosh, how am I going to suck at this? I'm just so talented. It'd be like if I was like, oh, I have to write a book, but I have to do badly. And it's going to be really hard for me because I'm just so good at it. Sounds a little arrogant, doesn't it? But of course, Cross is like, you, Darlington. Her last name is Darlington. AI named her, I bet. He's like, you show everyone how it's done because you're a crack shot. Vague implication that the younger brother is attracted to his older brother. She says, I noticed that, like Ivy's, his eyes never stray too far from Cross. And I think Ivy's looking at Cross because she thinks he's hot. So, incest. That's what this book needed. I wonder if we're ever going to find out if being a crack shot is actually just part of her powers or part of everybody with psychic abilities powers, or what's going on with that.
Get used to disappointment.
The main character decides the best thing to do is just miss. Being bad at something is really hard. Poor baby. Up, we have the classic, a muscle in his jaw ticks. All of these guys in all of these books have the same thing. A muscle in their jaw always ticks. And she gets a progress report on her tablet, which is here in the book, and it says, terrible shot, Darlington knows how to hold a rifle, but that's about it. That's the end of that chapter. How long is 12? I might just do another chapter. Oh, it's really short. All right, I'll do another chapter right away. And we're back. Chapter 12. Still waiting for, plot to happen. What is the story? Why should I care about this character and her life right now? My first day as a command recruit wasn't as horrendous as I anticipated. I would love to know what she had been anticipating. And we don't train soldiers a certain way just because we feel like it. We train soldiers a certain way because it's effective. Also, they gave her a bed, so she doesn't have to sleep with Kane. Good thing that didn't end badly. Liddy loves maps. Liddy is becoming the, useful best friend trope. She can do all the boring stuff the main character doesn't want to do. Apparently, there was some kind of nuclear war because some places are still full of radiation. But the places they're looking at, like New Virginia, are apparently radiation-free, so I wonder if it's going to be like a District 13 kind of scenario, and the main character will end up going to one of them places. Because Liddy's like, yeah, there's no radiation there, we just haven't re-civilized there. And I'm like, oh, haven't you? Or maybe you just haven't been told. There's a continent called Karora? I swear. She might have just done keyboard smash for some of these names. Apparently there's a place where there's cannibals. I think that's Karora. The cannibals are in Karora. Oh, also, the big brother that rules over them is just called the company. They live on the continent, and they work for the company. All of their restaurants are probably called diner. The menu is just a piece of paper that says food. So Ro is actually only the half-brother of Cross. Oh my god, these names are so stupid. This book is if Powerless and FourthWing had a really ugly baby. Also, we have to have a moment where one of the guys tells our main character that he thinks she's the hottest one here. Because, like, the author cannot have us thinking that our main character isn't hot and desired by men. And she gets to, like, say something quippy and strut away, even though what she said is just really dumb. This author is not actually very good at writing snarky lines, so all of the flirt fighting that's going to come later is going to be pretty painful, I predict. I will say one thing for the author of Powerless, she's actually pretty okay at banter. She just does it way too much. This author, I hate to say, not good at banter. So their next class, because they're just going to school, is shielding, which is like shielding their minds, which we are told that everyone is taught to do. At least in some small way, everyone is taught to. But I imagine this is like advanced shielding or whatever. But she's like, maybe if I learn how people shield, it'll make it easier for me to infiltrate. And I'm like, you never asked anybody? Like, you've got people back home who know, like, you. And also, didn't you ever have shielding class when you were growing up? Because you're hiding who you are, right? I don't know. Okay, we remember that she has a friend back home. I thought we were just going to completely forget about the friend. It was giving, I don't even remember the name of the character, but in Powerless, the main character had a black friend back at home that she forgot about for an extended period of time. But Tana is reaching out psychically. Tana's like, there's a surveillance drone in the town square now, so you shouldn't come home. Like, whatever you do, don't come home. Wow, I can just tell our main character is such a nice person. So there's all different types of telepaths, apparently. The types are just telepaths, mind readers, healers, empaths, precogs, and inciters. And the main character is a telepath, obviously, a mind reader, and inciter. But when she's thinking about the other ones, when the person says empath, the main character thinks, no thanks. Yeah, not interested in empathy. Good. This is the character we're excited to follow. Also, there's precogs in this world. Like, that seems to be like something that we should be trying to capitalize on, honestly. I want to know how the main character feels about the fact that she could force someone to do something. Because she's going back over it and she's like, Uncle Jim was the only one who knew and he told me never to tell anybody. And like, she's nervous about being found out, but I want to know how she feels about herself having that power. In my book, Adventure Mage, which is over there and I can't quite reach it, so I'm not going to grab it. One of the characters finds out that they have the ability to change minds. And they are kind of like horrified by this idea. Like, they don't like using it. They don't want to use it. They find this idea disgusting. So, like, the ability to force someone to do something, to change a mind, seems like something that would be really interesting to explore for this character, but she's just like, yeah, I have this ability. She says, unlike me, the former leader didn't grapple with the moral implications of using incitement. She's not grappling with the moral implications, though. She's not. She's not sitting here going, is it morally right for me to do that? She's going, I have this power and Uncle Jim told me to hide it and everybody, like, people would kill me on sight if they knew I had it. That's not wrestling with the moral implications. Oh, this is convenient. You don't need to shield yourself in sleep. Your brain waves restrict the aberrant from infiltrating when you're in that state. Oh, well, thank goodness. That's kind of like the whole, we're just not allowed to kill each other when we're asleep rule in FourthWing that everybody just obeys for some reason. Yeah, somebody says we learned this shit in lower school, which implies to me that the main character should already know at least something about it, since she would probably be taught it in school. Again, but why? So they're talking about inciters, and of course the teacher is like, inciters are always evil, and they're just sitting around always looking to infiltrate your mind and make you do things you don't want to do. And the main character says, she's wrong, I'm not a monster. If it were up to me, I'd never incite at all. But why? We haven't explored that. Anson is definitely the Jack. You remember Homicidal Jack from FourthWing? Well, here we have Anson. He's Homicidal Anson. Doesn't roll off the tongue as nicely. Anson, the asshole. I don't know. We'll come up with something. She spent some time watching Liddy, and I'm like, See, now you've got chemistry with Liddy. Because she's, like, watching really closely and noticing all of, like, Liddy's facial twitches and stuff as she's learning this shielding technique. And I'm like, why are we doing that? Why are we... I think because this author was just like, I don't know, I need to put more words in this chapter. But now I'm like, are we into Liddy? These books are very hetero. And then, again, we just keep throwing more people at this book because this author doesn't know what to do with anything, I'm pretty sure. Another person walks into the class, and this one is a modified. So, like our main character. And that's it for that chapter, and I'm going to stop because I have to go take care of things around my house. But I'll probably be recording again tomorrow. I'll see all of you later. Bye. And we're back. Chapter 13. Lucky number 13. Let's see if something actually happens. So there's a new person in the classroom, and she has a slave marking. So she is a modified, she's a mod, but she's a slave. So the main character's like, I memorize everything about her, and she's like the most average looking person. She's like short, slight, with pale skin and brown hair. We are now being told, this is, again, very reminiscent of Powerless, that General Redden, the evil general who did this big uprising and got rid of all of the mods. He is a tactical genius. He's so clever. And I'm like, we had the exact same thing from the King in Powerless, and it turned out that he was an idiot. And the author continuously insisting that he was a clever genius while he did the dumbest things possible. Like, it doesn't matter, authors, it doesn't matter how much you tell us that a character is smart, you have to prove it. Also, just like Powerless, we have this big powerful general who did a genocide, and his two sons, one of which is only his half-child, but I think we switched up which son is like the half. The instructors are like, at the end of this class, this slave girl is going to test your abilities to shield. And our main character panics because she's like, oh no, if my shield is too strong, she'll suspect something, but if my shield is too weak, she'll get to my actual thoughts. And I'm like, well, that's not a problem. You were already interrogated. Your thoughts were already interrogated, and you easily planted false thoughts. So just do that again. Why are you stressed? Okay, we know the author did this on purpose. There's a random character whose name is Granger, and she says, I'm going to talk to my father about this. So we have a character named after Hermione using one of Draco Malfoy's lines. You know that's on purpose.
Ew, David.
So this chapter seems mostly to exist to prove to us again that our main character is put upon, which we've seen a million billion times in so many of these books. The class is just talking back and forth about how evil mods are and all of the rumors about them, like their touch is deadly, their blood is deadly, blah, blah, blah. And eventually the main character says, holy hell, fuck you guys, they're not monsters, which of course makes everybody all like, what? Luckily, before anybody can really react to that, it's the main character's turn. Yeah, she sits down in front of this person, she puts up a flimsy shield, and she just thinks about her horse. And that's... Why was she worried before? Why was she panicking before if it's so easy to just do this? So after that intense classroom experience, it's movie night. You know, they're always doing that in basic training, and especially training for elite soldiers. They're like, hey, let's have like 2 days of classes and then a movie night. She decides she doesn't want to watch the movie because she thinks it's just going to be propaganda. I really want to know what kind of movies they watch in this universe. But now we have to be reminded that that wolf character exists again. Why the fuck is he in this book? He better show up and do something important later. Because he just keeps being like, hey, let me just communicate with you psychically. And he calls her Daisy. Nice of her friends to only contact her when she's like not busy. So now we hear about a time Wolf called her up on the psychic phone just so she can relate a time that she accidentally used her inciting powers on Uncle Jimothy and caused his car to go off the road and he almost died. So old Wolf here is out here having a hard time, and I don't care about this guy's like emotional crisis because I don't know him. We've never even seen him. He's only just been a psychic phone friend. And it just ends with him being like, we'll be fine, we keep each other strong, which is not true, at least from what we've seen so far. And we are on page 125 at this point. If this is an important relationship for the story, it needs to be more than just very, very sparse and very, very short conversations. So then she goes outside. I guess they're allowed to go outside. I didn't know this. Would have been nice to know, but they can go outside, I guess. And Kane, the guy whose bed she shared, is out there too. And they have some, like, goofy flirty banter, but you know these two aren't going to be a couple, so their flirty banter is like the friend kind, even though it's basically identical to the kind she would be having with a different hot guy. They see the delivery gate is open. I guess they're getting some shipments in, and there's motorcycles lined up at the delivery gate. And that's the end of the chapter, because the main character suddenly has the brilliant idea, I guess, to jump on a motorcycle and leave. Why? Like, this girl, I'm giving this terrible plans, because this girl doesn't have two thoughts to rub together. Or should I give it why is it always the dumb bitches? Actually, I think I'm going to give it why is it always the dumb bitches? Because, like, constantly being like, I need to get out of here. But then she's like, no, I need to play the long game, and just fail just enough to get out of here. And now she's like, never mind, I'm going to jump on a motorcycle and flee. Like The Great Escape or whatever that movie was. What is this character? I was going to say at the end of this chapter that the biggest problem I'm having with the story and the reason it's so boring is because the character doesn't feel like she has any agency. And that's a big problem that a lot of authors run into, especially when their characters are put into situations that the character didn't choose or didn't have any control over. We still need the character to have some type of agency, some type of wants, some type of plan. This character just feels like she's cruising along. Her biggest plan is to basically not do anything. Her biggest plan is to not be good at things, and that is not an engaging thing to watch. It's fun to watch a character try to be good at things and sometimes succeed, not let's watch a character who is good at everything try to be bad at it. It's just not fun or engaging. So perhaps her going for a motorcycle will be, and then she'll be like, but I shouldn't, because I have my plan of being boring for an entire book. Yay. And we're back for another chapter today before I go off and do something else with my life. Chapter 14, will she steal the motorcycle? She immediately thinks that it's a trap. Like, conveniently a gate is open and conveniently there's a motorcycle next to it. So it must be Cross. I'm never going to get over how stupid that name is. It's such a dumb name. Especially a first name. Imagine looking at your baby and going, I'm going to name him Cross. I don't know how Cross would have guessed that she was going to be out here exactly at this moment, unless he's also a mind reader. She mentioned that when the bad guy rose to power, he gave everybody, like, tattoos if he found you were a mind reader. And it just so happens that Cross has tattoos all over his arms. So, like, what if he has those tattoos to hide his other tattoo? Aw, you never know. Or it's just a crazy random happenstance that he said he just knew that she was just going to be out here. But even though I'm glad I gave this wise that I was the dumb bitches, so she's like, it's definitely a trap. This is too convenient. I'm going to do it anyway. She runs over and gets on a motorcycle. She also realizes that it wasn't locked because, like, you're supposed to use your thumbprint to, like, unlock the machine. And this one just isn't locked, which, you know, convenient. So she drives out and she's headed down the road and she's heading for a woods where she thinks she can hide out. But of course she realizes another motorcycle is pursuing her, and I'm certain it's going to be Cross, and he's going to look damn sexy on his motorcycle because this book was probably written around the height of, like, hot motorcycle guys being a thing. Like, for a while it was hockey guys on Book Talk, and then it was motorcycle guys were, like, the thing that everyone was slathering over. I don't know what people are slathering over now. I haven't been informed by the YouTubers that I watch who tell me these things, but this book was probably written right at the height of the motorcycle guy craze. Of course, yep, I was of course correct. I mean, we were all correct. We knew who it was. She looks over her shoulder, and yes, it is Cross, and he's grinning with the thrill of the hunt.
Oh, you're right. And when you're right, you're right.
But oh no, there's a force field up ahead, she realizes, and she's going to have to stop. She decides to play chicken with him in the force field, so she just keeps driving towards it. With a desperate tug, I yank the handlebars, trying to stop. Is that how you stop a motorcycle, pulling on the handlebars? She goes flying, she stops at the last second, she goes flying off the bike, she smashes headfirst into the ground. She wasn't wearing a helmet, but I'm sure she'll be fine. She just scratched her cheek, her delicate cheek. Like, Seriously, she should have brain damage. She should be dead. Also, force fields exist in this world, I guess. How are they made? What powers them? Fuck off. He says that they have the force field to catch deserters. But I'm like, do a lot of people desert this elite military school that you have to, like, try to get into, except for the main character? And she's admiring his tattoos. She's like, they make him look so dangerous. And I'm like, I thought we were over, like, as a society, thinking tattoos made you look dangerous. I have a tattoo. I'm not very dangerous. Like, I just don't think that people with tattoos look dangerous. All a tattoo means to me is that you can sit still for a little while and endure mild pain. Speaking of which, I really need another tattoo. I just hate scheduling things. Like, I have the money. I have the time. I just hate calling people and scheduling appointments. That is the number one thing keeping me from getting my next tattoo, is I have to call and schedule an appointment. So they're calling this training The Program, which makes me think of that other terrible book we read called The Program. Are people going to start suffering from the disease of depression? She's like, I want out of the program. And he's like, done. And she's like, And he's like, yep, you can go back to prison. Those are your options. The program or just prison. This scene mostly exists for her to thirst over him, though. Like, in between, there'll be 2 lines of dialogue, and then it'll just be a paragraph about how hot he is, and then 2 more lines of dialogue and another paragraph about how hot he is. Now we've got a paragraph about his general bigness. All these guys are fucking huge, and all these girls are little bitty, tiny, little delicate, infantilized things. By the way, if you're looking for a romance story where the woman lead is a giant, muscular badass who wields an enormous axe, check out my book, The Wolf and the Hawk. The way these people talk to each other is not how people talk. This is just how the author has, like, distilled down her reading of other, like, romantasy style books of how characters are supposed to talk. We have completely abandoned any effort to make our characters, especially our romantic characters like this, sound like real people having real conversations. They just say the buzzwords, the lines that they're expected to say, no matter the situation, no matter the scenario, no matter if it feels natural for these characters to talk this way. This is just what they're supposed to say. And they flirt, and they flirt, and they flirt, and they flirt. And she decides she's going to stay in the program. And then we have a time skip. Also, she flew off that bike and smashed onto a gravel road. And she has some, like, cuts and bruises, and that's it. No actual injuries. And it's the next morning, and they're being woken up again in the barracks. And as punishment for her little escapade, they're all going to have to run laps. You know, the typical... Again, this is something that I feel like this author heard of or maybe saw in movies about the military. And so she's like, yeah, when one person does a bad thing, everybody else has to run laps. That's just how it goes. Although also, isn't that kind of sometimes a thing in, like, high school gym classes too? I don't know. I was homeschooled. I don't know what people do. Also, like, these people have not been practicing physical activities at all. So, like... He's like, you have to run, and if you stop, you're cut from the program. But there has been no PT in this training. It's all been classroom work so far. So, like, are any of these people prepared to jog? I'm sure our main character will be fine. I'm sure, like, she's like, well, I'm a rancher, so I jog all the time, even though she rides her horse around all the time. Like, I ride horses, and I don't jog. Like... There's just 2 different muscle groups. You know, just because I'm athletic in some ways does not mean that I'm athletic in other ways. But I'm sure she'll be fine because our main character's good at everything. Oh, good. We've had an entire character arc in the space of 1 chapter. She's thinking, no, I won't be attempting another escape. There's no room for reckless Ren anymore. I need to be more restrained going forward. She's basically been restrained this entire book. It's just like the author decided that it was time for her to be an absolute dumbass for a few minutes, and then back to status quo. She says she thinks she needs to be methodical, and I'm like, I would love to see that from you. And we get another, like, report, and it says that she physically sucks at hand-to-hand combat, which we haven't actually seen them do yet, which I'm very surprised by, because, like, I was ready for it to be FourthWing 2.0 by this point, where they're just all doing sexy hand-to-hand combat nonstop. But no, it's mostly been classroom, and now jogging. That's it. But we'll see. Perhaps we will get to the sexy hand-to-hand. This is the most boring military training school I've ever read about. I am dying. Don't avoid this book because it's bad. Avoid this book because it is boring as hell. Anyway, I'll see you for the next chapter. Hello, it has been a while since I've been back to read this thing because I'm not very enthusiastic about it, but I've committed, so here we go. We have another memory / flashback, and it says, by the time I was 6 years old, I was an expert in survival. So we have another powerless situation where like these itty bitty little children are experts. Like, an expert to me is somebody who has trained for a significant portion of their life longer than 6 years old. Because, I mean, it's not even like she's been training for 6 years, because when you're a baby, you cannot train for survival. So it's more like 3 years, probably maximum, of training to become an expert in survival. But okay. Yeah, at 6 years old, she's apparently building a fire, keeping it burning, mending her own clothes, and stitching her own wounds. 6 years old. Stitching her own wounds.
Is it supposed to be stupid?
If this child were to exist, the levels of trauma that they would have, having had to do that for themselves, I don't even know if we'd get a functioning adult out of it. But no, she's just fine as an adult. She's just fine and she's mastered everything. Ah, we finally have it. It took until chapter 15, but we are in the hand-to-hand combat arena. And of course, our main character, she knows that she could kick the ass of at least any of the other women here, but she's not, because she's got to pretend to suck. We got rid of the timid character off page. She has served her purpose.
Oh no! There's Melanie. That's a shame. She was really nice.
As usual, I can't keep track of any of these people. They're all just names. Our main character's having to work really hard to lose this match. You guys need to know that this other woman she's competing against, who again, signed up. This woman who she's competing against signed up to be an elite military officer. Our main character did not. But this woman that she's competing against is such a bad fighter that our main character's having to really, really ham it up to be losing this match. Here's the problem with her being all like, well, I want to get kicked out. Because she's still doing that, I have to suck so I get kicked out. But she's already been told that if she gets kicked out, there's nowhere else for her except prison. So why is she still going ahead with this plan? Kind of wonder if the author of this book enjoys firearms because, like, the character is now having a break to just, like, talk about firearms. We also have to know, like, be reminded over and over how much our main character is trying to be bad at everything. Lest we ever think for a moment that she's actually bad at something, the book just has to keep telling us, but I was faking it, I wasn't really bad at things. I had to keep faking it. Why is Kane a character? We know he's not a love interest, but he keeps coming over to, like, playfully flirt with her. And she's like, yeah, he's really hot, but, like, he knows he's hot, and so I don't like him. Guys, it's like she don't know she's beautiful, but for guys, I guess. You're not allowed to know you're attractive. That's against the rules. So right now, Kane is, like, wrapping his arms around her to demonstrate how to hold a rifle properly, you know, the way guys do. Like, it's one thing if it's your significant other or someone that you're, like, clearly very interested in wrapping themselves around you. But guys think that they can just do that. Don't do that. Why are we watching this scene? I don't understand why we need the scene of her holding the gun wrong. It is an entire page. Holding the gun wrong. Kane comes over. He flirts with her. He's, like, standing behind her. Let me show you how to hold the gun. It's taking an entire page of just her and a guy we know she's not going to end up with holding a gun. And that's it. An entire page of that. That does nothing. And then we just smash cut to later. Later we file into the mess hall for dinner. The mess hall is totally just a high school cafeteria where we hear the names of all of these people we don't know or care about and find out what sort of shenanigans they're getting up to, who's watching whom, who's being, you know, cliquey. Like, I don't care. What is this book about? Where's the plot? Can we find it? We're on chapter 15. We're 141 pages in. Where's the plot? Do I have no plot in sight on here because I need to cross it off? All right, I think I took off no plot in sight for some reason. That was a mistake on my part, but I'm going to give this clearly no developmental editing because a developmental editor would have said, That scene was pointless. Please cut it. And where's the plot? By this point in the book, we should know what the plot is. Also, what are they eating? You know what I always say, food is a really great way to build their culture. Are they eating processed MRE packets? Are they eating fresh food? What kind of food? What do the soldiers eat? Do they get better food than the regular soldiers because they're special elite soldiers in training? What do they eat? We don't know. We don't care. We just know that some of the mean kids are whispering. And then we cut to them in the shower. She and her girlfriend, are hanging out in side-by-side showers and talking about Kane and how into the main character Kane is. And we don't care because we know he's not a real romantic interest. He exists because the author really wants us to know that her lead character is hot. It's attractive. Men want her. So in the shower, her friend notices her weird marking that she has, that people like her have. Which is conveniently on her thigh, so like most people can't see it. But her uncle like burned it so that it didn't look like what it was, which seems like it'd be a pretty common thing to do. So like I would be then suspicious of everybody with burn scars, like pretty severe burn scars. I'd be like, what did you hide? I don't know that her friend would be, but like just this government in general. Also, we get the flashback of it. He burned her like extremely severely with boiling water. And she didn't they were living in the woods at the time, and she didn't get an infection and die. So I'm going to assume that like a very strong immune system is also part of her superpowers. And smash cut, we're done in the shower. Thank goodness we did that scene. I guess, is it important that Liddy knows about her burn? We'll find out, I guess. All of the mean kids are whispering, and she keeps getting funny looks from them, so I'm sure we'll find out what that's about. I can't wait to find out what sort of high school shenanigans they're going to do. Are they going to give her a swirly? Are they going to stuff her in her locker? Are they going to start a mean rumor? Oh, we get what they're having for breakfast. Can you guess what it is? It's the most cliche breakfast food you can think of, probably, if you're an American anyway. It's eggs and bacon. We couldn't be original and have anything else for breakfast, just eggs and bacon. And as she walks through the mess hall, she can feel people staring at her because, again, we are in high school. Liddy's doing that thing she does where she tries too hard to be tactful instead of stating what needs to be said. That's one of those lines that I hate. I hate being told a character like always does something, or this is the way a character is. I don't want you to tell me. I want to see it in how the character behaves. I want to see it in the character's interactions. Don't be telling me a character is a certain way. Show me. So apparently the nasty rumor is that her uncle was an aberrant. I forget what those are. There's so many things that you can be, and they each have names. I guess they didn't know until now that her uncle was executed, which is odd. I thought that people would know, but I guess, wow, thank goodness that wild rumor that's going around the high school cafeteria is that her uncle was executed, a thing that the reader already very much knows happened. So, like, what are we doing? What is this plot point? Oh, apparently the whole reason that this exists is that so somebody else can be like, oh, that makes sense why you're here then, because if your uncle was a defector or believed to be a defector, they want to test your loyalty by putting you in the military. Apparently that's a thing that happens. Why would they put her in the super uber elite military? Who fucking knows? But I guess as a thing that happens. And she's like, ah, yes, convenient. I will just use this excuse now for why I'm here. Did she need an excuse to be here? Was this an important plot point that other people really wanted to know why she was here? Like, what? I keep forgetting that Cross Redden is a person, because that is the dumbest name. I think this author might win the award for some of the dumbest names, and there's been some real gems in these books, but Cross Redden? Apparently an insult that these people use is asswit. Originally, we had half-wit, which makes sense as an insult. What is an asswit? I like slang. I appreciate slang. I even like slang in books. But it has to make sense. What is an asswit? Somebody who's as smart as their butt, I guess? One of the bullies comes over to hassle our main character, who is, of course, completely unflappable and filled with witty comebacks. Again, because I think this author just doesn't know what to do, now a fight has broken out because the bully harassed our main character too much, and now the main character has to fight her. And I feel like there's already multiple scenes that could be cut and we would lose nothing. Mostly because I still don't know what the plot is. What do we need and what do we not need? What's the plot? Nigel, what's the plot? Can you tell me? He doesn't know either. Of course, our main girl breaks the other girl's nose because there was no way that our hero wasn't going to win. And that's the end of the chapter. Our main character wins a fight, blah, blah, blah. Somebody says save it for the pit, so we're probably going to have some sort of Fight Club-esque situation going on. Oh, the next chapter's kind of long, too, but I should probably read it. Since I'm already here.
What? You're George McFly.
And you're my patrons. Patrons like
Morgan, Coco Tina, Clara,
Allison, Lisa, Jen, Tex, Moon Island, Zenith, Ashley, Bunnet, Nemo the Sorcerer, Tactical Hot Dog, Haley History Nerd, Pixel Lizzie, Raya, Christina, Cameron, Lady Craig, and Lunar Muse, AJ, Marshy, Semi-Dark, GK, Scout, Annika, Jen, Gay Tutter, Tina, Laknunga, SB Boots, Martha Baggins, July, Bird Anonymous, Sarah, Cat, 78 Kilograms of Shade, Ingrid, Roma, Haley, Sam, Kira, Mooney, Puttamancer, Kohikaro, Kirsten, Bear, Jojo Bookish, Robin, Ursula, Caitlin, Jessica, KJ, Mufflier, Celia, Deborah, Swamp Goblin Waifu, Sophia, Marween, Kit, Light Julie, Patrick, Callison, Vampire Antihero, Shelby, Zaire, Jesper, Rennie, Scribbling Cat, Savvy, Jenny, and Amanda.
Stand tall, boy. Have some respect for yourself.
Didn't even try, made lots of money. Didn't even try, made lots of money. Doesn't matter if it's rainy or if it's sunny.